The morning her parents threw her out, Callie Mercer's mattress was propped against the garage with one corner in a puddle. 9 miles away, a half-finished duplex still belonged to Edith Price, who had been dead for 6 weeks. Its windows were boarded, its plumbing exposed, and Edith's masking tape instructions remained stuck to the bare floors. Somewhere in an attorney's office, Callie's name was written beside its address. Callie knew none of that. She knew only that her mother had packed her clothes in black contractor bags. Her father had removed the lock from the converted porch where she had slept for 3 years, and the grandmother's sewing basket that should have been among her belongings was not. "Why is my mattress outside?" Lorna Mercer glanced up from wiping the kitchen counter. She had already changed into the pale blue blouse she planned to wear to the closing. The movers wouldn't take it. What movers? The buyer's movers. They're coming for the pieces we sold them. Callie stared at her mother. Lorna kept wiping a counter that was already empty and clean. The coffee maker was gone. So was the ceramic rooster that had spent most of Callie's life guarding the sugar bowl. Its absence left a pale, rooster-shaped patch on the wallpaper. "You said I had until noon." "We did," Lorna said, "but your father checked the weather." Callie looked through the back door at the wet mattress. "Yes," Lorna said, following her gaze. "That was unfortunate. It was 6:43 in the morning. The buyers would not receive their keys until 4. Callie walked outside without answering. Her work shoes slipped slightly on the damp porch steps. 10 black bags sat in the driveway beside 2 cardboard boxes, a bent floor lamp, and the little walnut nightstand her grandmother had bought at a church rummage sale. The top drawer had slid open, exposing a roll of medical tape, 3 pens, and a handful of cough drops that had fused into one amber lump. Her father stood inside the garage, coiling an orange extension cord. "Dad." Tom looked over. He was wearing his good jeans, the dark ones without white paint on the knees. "Morning. You put my bed outside. Had to clear the porch." "At 6 in the morning?" "The realtor asked us to leave it broom clean. I own a broom." Tom gave the extension cord another loop around his elbow. "You know how your mother gets when there's a deadline." Callie knew how everybody got when there was a deadline. Her mother became efficient, her father became unavailable, and Callie became the thing slowing them down. She pressed her fingers into the exposed corner of the mattress. The fabric gave a wet little sigh. "Looks like it didn't soak through," Tom said. Callie turned toward him. He lowered his eyes to the cord. "I'm trying to find the good news." "The good news would have been leaving it inside. The good news would have been you having somewhere to take it." There it was, not cruelly delivered. Tom rarely did anything cruelly. He simply set down the sharpest sentence in the room and acted surprised when someone bled on it. Callie looked past him into the garage. The shelves had been stripped except for a tower of plastic tubs marked condo, grant, donate, and family. A red hard-shell suitcase sat near the door. "Where's Grandma's sewing basket?" Tom's hands paused. It was only a pause, less than a second, but Callie spent her days noticing the moment before an injured person lied about pain. "Ask your mother," he said. "I'm asking you. She packed most of the keepsakes. It was in my nightstand. It was your grandmother's." "Yes." Tom set the extension cord on the workbench. "Callie, this isn't the morning to inventory every little thing. It isn't a little thing. No, apparently it's an emergency sewing basket. She gave it to me. Then talk to your mother." Inside, Lorna was folding the damp dish towel into a precise rectangle. Callie found that almost funny. The woman had sold the towel's drawer, but she was still folding the towel. "Where's Grandma's sewing basket?" Lorna did not pretend she hadn't heard. "I packed it." "Where?" "With the family things." "It's mine. It belonged to my mother. She gave it to me when I started doing her mending." "You started doing her mending because she couldn't see the eye of the needle, and I'm grateful you helped her." Callie waited. Lorna laid the towel on the counter. "What? That's not the same as saying it wasn't mine. I'm not having an argument over possessions on a day that is already emotional. You packed everything I own into garbage bags. They're contractor bags. They're stronger." A laugh escaped Callie before she could stop it. It sounded ugly in the empty kitchen. Lorna's face tightened. "I didn't want your things getting ruined. My mattress is in a puddle. That was your father." From the garage, Tom called, "Rain shifts, Lorna." For one ridiculous second, Callie nearly laughed again. Her parents could pass blame back and forth forever without ever letting it touch the ground. The front door opened, and Grant came in, carrying a cardboard tray with 3 coffees. He stopped when he saw Callie. "Oh," he said. Her older brother had the broad shoulders of a man who moved equipment for work and the careful haircut of a man trying to look like he no longer did. His company polo was tucked into clean khakis. The embroidered name above his pocket read, Grant, as if there were any danger of mistaking him for someone else. "You're here early," he said. "So are all my belongings." Grant looked toward the driveway. "Mom." "Don't start," Lorna said. "We have a closing. I thought Callie had until noon." "So did I," Callie said. Grant set the coffees down. There were 3. He noticed her noticing. "I didn't know you'd still be here. It's 6:45. I thought you were staying with Ray last night. Ray worked late." "Right." Callie picked up one of the coffees. Grant opened his mouth, then closed it. She took a drink. It was black, Tom's order, and hot enough to hurt. Lorna reached for it. "That's your father's. He put my bed in the rain." Callie. "What?" "I'm finding the good news." Tom came in from the garage and frowned at the coffees. "Which one's mine?" Grant handed him another. "Caramel." Tom examined the label. "I don't drink caramel." "You do today?" Callie said. Grant covered a smile with his knuckles. That made it worse. It reminded her how easily they could still become themselves around one another, even now, with her life lined up beside the trash cans. He followed her into the driveway while Lorna and Tom argued about sweetener. "Let me help with the mattress. My car doesn't have a roof rack. I can put it in the truck." "And take it where?" Grant shifted his coffee to the other hand. "Storage. I called 6 places. The cheapest wants a month up front plus a deposit. I can cover it." Of course he could. Their parents were giving him enough money from the sale to buy into Barlow Heating and Cooling. They spoke about the company as if Grant were purchasing an orchard instead of 12% of a business with 3 vans and a bad online review involving a ferret. "No!" "Callie, don't do that." "Do what?" "Make every offer insulting. Some offers come pre-insulted." His jaw moved. Grant looked like Tom when he was trying not to say the sentence Lorna had already said for him. "This isn't my decision," he said. "You're taking the money. That doesn't mean I voted to throw you out. You didn't have to vote. You just had to be quiet." Rain ticked against the garage gutter. Grant looked down at the mattress, then at the sold sign on the lawn. "I told them to give you something," he said. "How much of your share did you tell them to give me?" His eyes lifted. "That's what I thought." "It isn't a share. It's an investment. It's money from Grandma's house. Mom's house. Sure, legally it is." Callie stared at him. "Thank you, Grant. That makes the driveway feel much better." He took a breath through his nose. "I've been working toward this for 11 years. And I haven't been working?" "I didn't say that. No, nobody says it. You all say I'm helpful, dependable, good with difficult people. Then you talk about your job like it has a future, and mine like I'm volunteering until I figure myself out. You dropped out of nursing school. Nursing school dropped $38,000 on my head. You could go back. With what money?" Grant rubbed the cardboard seam of his coffee cup. "That's not what I meant." It was what he meant. It was also not all he meant. That was the problem with Grant. He could love her and still stand exactly where the advantage was. He pulled out his wallet and counted $600. Callie looked at the bills. "Take it," he said quietly. "No, it's not charity." "What is it?" His mouth tightened. "It's $600. From inside the house, Lorna called his name, not Callie's, Grant's. He held the money out another second, then folded it once and pushed it into the open drawer of the nightstand. Callie removed it and tucked it into the chest pocket of his polo, right over his embroidered name. "You're being stubborn, probably. Runs in the family. Where are you going to sleep? I'll figure it out." That's not an answer. It's the answer everybody else was comfortable with until you had to watch me load the car. That landed? Grant glanced toward the house, but Lorna did not call again. Callie spent the next hour packing her Honda with everything it could hold. Her uniforms went behind the passenger seat. The nightstand fit upside down in the trunk after Tom removed its legs. The mattress went into Grant's truck despite her objections, because rain was moving steadily across the driveway now, and pride did not make foam dry faster. At 8:15, the realtor arrived carrying a lemon-scented cleaning spray and speaking in the bright, cautious voice people use near an animal that might bite. Lorna walked room to room behind her. "This was my mother's house," she said, touching doorframes she had spent months complaining about. "It's the end of an era." Callie stood in the empty porch, staring at the 4 pale squares where her pictures had hung. Tom had not only removed the lock, he had removed the entire brass latch and filled the screw holes with white putty. "Why'd you do that?" she asked. He stood behind her with his hands in his pockets. The buyers wanted all the interior doors to match. This door never matched. That's what they wanted. Callie put her thumb over one of the damp putty marks. "You could have waited until I left." Tom's reflection hovered in the dark window. "Maybe I thought it would be easier if we didn't drag it out." "For who?" He did not answer. At the curb, Grant strapped the mattress beneath a blue tarp. Lorna hugged Callie beside the mailbox, gripping her tightly enough that Callie could smell her familiar powdery perfume. "You'll land on your feet," Lorna whispered. Callie almost asked why everyone admired her ability to survive things they did to her. Instead, she stepped back. "Where's the sewing basket?" Lorna's face changed. "Not much. Just enough." "I told you. It's packed. You know where? In storage somewhere. Bring it to me when you find it. We'll discuss it after the closing." "No, bring it to me." Lorna's lips pressed together. "You don't have a proper place for something like that right now." Callie looked at her mother, at the sold bungalow, at the garbage bags bulging through the car windows. "Right," she said. "I forgot." Ray's apartment smelled of burnt toast and eucalyptus muscle cream. She opened the door, wearing purple scrub pants and one sock. "You look homicidal," Ray said. "I'm too tired." "Good. I cannot lose my security deposit over a homicide." They carried in the bags that contained Callie's work clothes and left everything else in the locked car. Ray cleared half a bathroom shelf, kicked an exercise bike out of the living room, and spread a clean sheet over the sofa. She did not say it would all work out. She said, "The couch folds down, but the left side tries to eat you. Fair warning. And Mr. Petros downstairs reports unauthorized breathing. How long can I stay?" Ray looked toward the ceiling, as if consulting the lease through it. Long enough to make a bad plan. It was the kindest offer Callie had received all day. 9 days later, during a home visit, Callie's phone vibrated while she was teaching a retired machinist how to use a sock aid without flinging his sock across the room. She ignored the first call. The second came while she was sitting in her car outside his building, eating peanut butter crackers over her lap. The voicemail was from a law office. Callie called back, expecting a question about Edith Price's final therapy invoices. Instead, a woman asked whether Callie Mercer could come in to discuss a bequest. What?" "A bequest from Ms. Price." Callie lowered the cracker. Rain dotted the windshield, soft and evenly spaced. "I think you have the wrong Callie Mercer." The woman read Callie's full name, birth date, and former address, the bungalow that was no longer hers. Then she said Edith had left Callie a duplex on Ralston Avenue. For several seconds, Callie heard nothing but the dry tick of her hazard lights. "Ms. Mercer?" Callie looked at the contractor bag still visible beneath the hatchback cover. "What kind of duplex?" she asked. The woman hesitated. "An unfinished one?" she said. The woman gave her an appointment for 4:30 and advised her to bring identification. Callie wrote the address on the back of a gas receipt, although the office was less than 2 miles from where she sat. When the call ended, she stayed in the car with one cracker balanced on her knee. A duplex, not money, not jewelry. Not even a finished duplex, if the careful pause before unfinished meant what Callie thought it meant. She searched Ralston Avenue on her phone. The first image showed a tire shop. The second showed a 1-story brick building with plywood over 2 windows and waist-high weeds around a porch. A blue tarp covered part of the roof. Callie zoomed in. "That one?" she murmured. She remembered Edith sitting on an overturned bucket, pointing her cane at a bathroom framed in raw lumber. "If I can touch the toilet from the shower, somebody has cheated me." "You're not supposed to touch the toilet from the shower," Callie had said. "Exactly. Put that in your fancy medical report." That had been almost a year ago. Callie had assumed Edith eventually sold the place. It was what people said when a project had outgrown them. "I'm considering my options" usually meant I cannot bear to look at it today. Callie called Ray. "Are you bleeding?" Ray asked. "No." "Is somebody else bleeding?" "No." "I'm between clients, so pick your category carefully." "Edith Price left me a duplex." There was a brief silence. "Mean." "Edith?" She wasn't mean. She told the regional director his breath could lower property values. He was standing too close to her. "Is this a real duplex?" It has 2 addresses. So does the urgent care next to the liquor store. It's unfinished. How unfinished? The attorney said to wear closed-toe shoes. Ray sighed. That is not a measurement. Callie looked again at the image. There's a tarp. Callie. I know. Do you? No. Okay. Better. A car pulled into the space beside Callie, and she lowered her voice, although there was no reason to. I'm meeting the attorney after work. Text me the address. Why? So, if this turns out to be an elaborate way to recruit you into a roof repair cult, I know where to start. Callie smiled despite herself. You're very supportive. I gave you the safe side of the couch. My support is documented. The law office occupied the 2nd floor above a dentist. The waiting room had 2 burgundy chairs, a fake ficus, and a water cooler that hummed louder than the receptionist. Callie arrived 9 minutes early and spent 8 of them wondering if her uniform smelled like the onion soup her last client had reheated during their session. At 4:29, a woman in a charcoal dress stepped through a frosted glass door. Ms. Mercer? I'm Meredith Pike. Meredith was in her 50s with silver threaded through dark hair and reading glasses hanging from a narrow red cord. Her handshake was firm, without becoming a test. I'm sorry about Ms. Price, she said. Thank you. Callie was not sure what else belonged there. Edith had been dead for 6 weeks and Callie had not known. The agency sent staff notices only when a current client died. Former clients simply disappeared from the schedule and, eventually, from conversation. Meredith's office was small enough that opening one file drawer blocked the door. She gestured Callie into the chair across from her desk. You sounded surprised on the phone. That's because I was, Ms. Price anticipated that. She did? Meredith opened a thin folder. She was very clear that you had no knowledge of the bequest. I didn't. And that you were no longer providing her paid services when she signed the final version of her will. Callie straightened. I didn't ask her for anything. I'm not suggesting you did. My agency has rules. I understand. They have a lot of rules, so do estates. That doesn't make me feel better. The corner of Meredith's mouth moved. Ms. Price said you would be concerned about propriety. Callie could hear Edith saying propriety as if it were a rash. Meredith turned a document so Callie could see her name and the Ralston Avenue address. The page was dense, clean, and real-looking in a way that made the whole thing feel less real. Why would she do this? Ms. Price did not provide me with a complete explanation. But did she say anything? She said you knew the property. I was inside it twice. Apparently that was more than most people. Callie looked at the signature near the bottom. Edith's handwriting had always leaned forward as if the words were running out of patience. Do I own it now? Not yet. The property is still being administered through the estate. You can accept the bequest or disclaim it. If you accept, title will transfer after we complete the required filings. And if I don't, it will be sold with the rest of the estate. What rest? Meredith took off her glasses. That answered more than Callie wanted it to. There are personal effects, a small checking account, and some furniture. Most of the available cash will be used for final expenses. So she left me the building but no money to fix it. I would not characterize the property as a gift without obligations. Then how would you characterize it? Meredith considered this, accurately, as a decision you should not make out of grief or gratitude. Callie looked back at the document. How bad is it? The property taxes were behind by just over $7,000. The insurance company had agreed to maintain limited coverage for 21 more days, provided the openings remained secured. The building had electricity to 1 unit, but no active gas service. Several permits had expired. Meredith slid a photocopied inspection summary across the desk, and Callie recognized enough words to feel sick. Moisture intrusion, exposed conductors, unsupported fixture, incomplete fire separation. Can I sell it? Yes. Would anybody buy it? Yes. The speed of that answer caught her. Who? Ms. Price received inquiries. Properties in that area have attracted renovation investors. Then why didn't she sell? You'd have to ask someone who knew her better than I did. Callie almost said, I thought I did. Instead, she asked, Can I see it? Meredith opened the bottom drawer of her desk and took out a ring with 4 keys. Each had a strip of masking tape around its head. Front, back, A, and maybe. Callie touched the last one. Maybe? Ms. Price labeled them. That, more than the signature, made Edith's death settle into the room. Meredith pushed a temporary access form toward her. "You are permitted to inspect the property. I strongly recommend you not go alone. Because of the neighborhood, because the floor in the rear room is partially removed," Callie signed. Outside, the heat of the day had broken. The air smelled like wet pavement and the fried chicken place across the street. She sat in her car holding Edith's keys and thought about calling Grant. He understood buildings better than she did. He would know whether the inspection language meant difficult or impossible. He would also arrive already certain that selling was the only intelligent choice, and Callie did not want his certainty in the rooms before she had seen them. She texted Ray instead. "Going to look," Ray replied immediately. "I'm working until 8. Wait." Callie typed, "I'll stay outside," then deleted it because Ray knew her. She drove to Ralston Avenue. The neighborhood changed gradually. Brick storefronts gave way to narrow houses with deep porches, then to a stretch of auto shops, churches, and small apartment buildings patched with different colors of siding. 2 blocks from the Duplex, a man stood on a ladder painting a sunburst over a laundromat door. Across the street, 3 adults in folding chairs argued amiably over a radio baseball game. The Duplex looked worse than the photograph. The brick was not red, but a tired brown beneath streaks of old paint. One porch column leaned slightly. Weeds grew through a stack of cement blocks, and the blue roof tarp had faded almost gray. A hand-painted 412 was fastened beside the left door. The right door had 414 written directly on it in black marker. Callie parked at the curb and remained behind the wheel. She tried to see what Edith and Lorraine had seen. All she saw was work. A man emerged from the alley carrying 2 cabinet doors under one arm. He was tall, maybe in his mid-30s, with sawdust along the thighs of his jeans. He set the doors against the neighboring building and looked at Callie's car. She looked away, which made her appear exactly like someone behaving suspiciously. He crossed the strip of grass between the properties. "You with Danner?" Callie lowered the window 3 inches. "Who?" "Danner Development." "No." "Insurance?" "No." He glanced at the keys in her hand. "Family?" Callie hesitated. "Former occupational therapy assistant." His eyebrows rose. "Edith's," she added. "Yeah, I got there." She lowered the window the rest of the way. "Did you know her?" "Everybody on this block knew Edith. That doesn't answer the question." He smiled once. "You sound like her." "I do not." "Okay." His agreement irritated her more than an argument would have. Callie got out and locked the car. "I'm here to inspect the property." In those shoes, she looked down at her rubber-soled work clogs. "They're closed-toe. That floor doesn't care." He picked up the cabinet doors again. "Wait," Callie said. "What's wrong with the floor?" "Which floor?" "The bad one. That narrows it down to most of them." He nodded toward the Duplex. "Stay out of the rear room on the right unless you like basements and sudden travel." "Were you doing work for Edith?" "Sometimes." "I'm Malik, Callie." "I know." Her fingers tightened around the keys. "How?" Edith talked. "About me?" She said. Callie kept moving her coffee cups to shelves meant for reasonable people. They were above her shoulder height. "She didn't include your defense." Malik lifted the doors. "Front key sticks. Pull the handle toward you while you turn it." He started toward the alley. "That's it?" Callie asked. He looked back. "You want a ribbon cutting?" "No." "Then that's it." The front key stuck exactly as promised. Callie braced one foot against the cracked concrete, pulled the handle, and turned until the lock released with a metallic snap. The smell hit first: wet wood, plaster dust, old cooking grease, and the shut-up odor of rooms that had gone too long without people. She found a switch. Nothing happened. Her phone flashlight revealed a narrow entry with 2 interior doors, one marked A in pencil and one marked B. The left door opened into a stripped living room. Faded green wallpaper clung to one wall. The ceiling had been repaired in neat rectangles, but the seams were never sanded. Bundles of wire protruded from blue electrical boxes. Callie stepped carefully. Beyond the living room was the unfinished bathroom, where she and Edith had argued about turning radius. The frame was still bare. A rusted walker leaned in the corner, one tennis ball missing from its back leg. Callie stopped. She knew that walker. She had adjusted its height in Edith's kitchen, while Edith complained that medical equipment came only in the colors of surrender. On the subfloor, strips of beige masking tape formed the outline of a shower, a sink, and a wider doorway. Some of the writing had faded beneath dust, but one instruction remained dark and legible. "Don't make the door too damn narrow." Callie crouched and ran one finger over the edge of the tape. Her phone rang in the silent room. Mom filled the screen. Callie watched it ring until the light went out, leaving Edith's words beneath her hand. A voicemail banner appeared and vanished. Callie turned her phone face down on the dusty subfloor. "Not tonight," she said, though her mother was no longer listening. The walker leaned crookedly beneath the window. Callie picked it up and found Edith's name written on the crossbar in permanent marker. One rubber hand grip had been slid along the side, where Edith used to hook her grocery bag. It should have gone back to the medical supplier. Callie remembered arranging the return after Edith progressed to a cane. Edith had claimed the supplier never called her back. Apparently, Edith had kidnapped it. Callie set all four legs inside the taped outline and pushed. The walker passed through the future doorway with room to spare. "All right," she whispered, "you win." She followed the beam of her flashlight into the kitchen. It was more complete than the rooms at the front, though complete seemed generous. The lower cabinets had doors but no handles. The countertop stopped 18 inches before the wall, exposing a wedge of plywood. An old refrigerator stood unplugged beside a brand new electrical outlet. Inside the refrigerator, someone had left a roll of blue shop towels, a jar of screws, and one unopened can of ginger ale. Callie examined the date on the can. Expired 8 months ago. She put it back. A laminated floor plan had been pinned to the wall above the sink. Rain had blurred one corner, and red pencil marks crossed out the original galley layout. "Lower here" was written beside the counters. Under the window, Edith had drawn an angry circle around the faucet and added, "Handles, not that one stick nonsense." Callie could hear her. She could also hear dripping. The sound led her through a narrow passage toward the back room. The flashlight caught black plastic where the floor should have been. Callie stopped. A rectangular section of subfloor had been removed, exposing joists and the dark basement below. A loose door had been laid across part of the opening like a bridge. On the far side sat a bucket positioned beneath a stain in the ceiling. "Sudden travel," she muttered. She leaned forward without stepping closer. The drip landed in the bucket with the patient rhythm of a clock. Behind her, the front door scraped open. Callie spun so fast her shoulder struck the wall. "Easy," Malik called. "It's me. You can't just come in." I knocked. "I didn't hear you." "Exactly why I came in." He appeared in the passage carrying a square work light and a yellow extension cord. Power shut off at the main. Temporary line got disconnected after Edith went to the hospital. "I thought one unit had electricity." "It does in the technical sense that wires exist." The attorney made it sound more electric than that. "I'm sure the electrons are waiting on paperwork." He set the light on the kitchen floor and ran the cord through the front door toward his workshop. A moment later, white light flooded the room. Under it, everything looked both safer and worse. The kitchen cabinets were mismatched. Water had swollen the toe kick under the sink. Hairline cracks spread from one corner of the ceiling. Callie folded her arms. "You keep electricity in your workshop?" "Most cabinet makers do. I meant you're running it over here. You're holding a phone at 11%. She looked at the screen. "How can you tell?" "Your face." "My face does not show battery life. Your face is doing a lot right now." Malik crouched at the edge of the missing floor. He pressed one thumb against the nearest joist, then aimed a small flashlight into the basement. "Leak's getting worse." "From the roof?" "Probably flashing around the vent." Edith had someone patch it in the spring. He patched the wrong side. "Why?" "Because rain wasn't falling when he did it." Callie waited for him to smile. He did not. That was an actual answer. People are very confident on dry days. He stood and dusted his hands on his jeans. Callie looked around the kitchen. "What can be saved?" Malik glanced at her. "What?" "Most people ask what has to go." "I'm not most people." Edith mentioned that too. She did not want second-hand tenderness from a man she had met 12 minutes ago. "How well did you know her?" "Well enough to owe her $40. "For what?" "Basketball game. She picked Cleveland. I made a joke about loyalty being different from judgment, and Cleveland won? By 3. Then you owed her $40 because you were smug. That's more or less how she itemized it." He picked up the unopened ginger ale from the refrigerator. "She kept these for me. It's expired." She would have said dates are a suggestion. She'd have been wrong. That never slowed her down. He returned the can to the shelf. The ease with which he moved through Edith's kitchen pricked something in Callie. He knew where the light had been stored. He knew about the leak and the temporary power. Edith had apparently spoken about Callie to him, yet Edith had died without Callie knowing. Was she sick? Callie asked. Malik leaned against the counter. After the hip? After I stopped seeing her, she got an infection. Then another one. She was in rehab for a while. She hated rehab. She filed 3 complaints. That sounds right. I visited twice. The second time she told me not to come back unless I had a plan for the roof. Did you? No. His honesty made the answer harder. Callie looked at the floor plan. Did she say why she left this to me? No. Nothing? She said she had handled it. That could mean anything. With Edith, it usually meant stop asking. A car horn sounded outside. 2 short, angry taps. Ray appeared in the front doorway wearing navy scrubs and holding a tire iron. Malik looked at the tire iron. You the backup? I'm the person who advised her not to enter the abandoned building alone. It's not abandoned, Callie said. Ray scanned the walls. The building disagrees. I'm Malik. Ray. You always carry that? I parked 2 blocks away because there's a man asleep across 3 spaces. He owns the muffler shop. That make the tire iron offensive? It makes your parking spot safe. Ray lowered it, but did not put it away. Callie, I told you to wait. I stayed out of the bad rear room. You're in the bad rear room. This is the kitchen. Malik pointed toward the black opening. That's the bad rear room. Ray stepped closer, saw the missing floor, and backed up. Nope. That was my first thought, Callie said. Your first thought was to call me from your car. That was my earlier thought. Ray took Callie by the elbow and turned her toward the light. You have plaster in your hair. It's not plaster. Malik reached over and picked a flake from Callie's shoulder. It's plaster. Traitor, Callie said. I owe Edith's estate $40. My loyalties are complicated. They toured the other unit together. Number 4. 1-4 was rougher but drier. The front room had new windows still covered in manufacturer stickers. Metal studs divided the open space into rooms that existed only from certain angles. A bathtub, never installed, rested on its side with a tarp tucked inside it. The old kitchen had been removed except for a yellow floral backsplash and a gas pipe capped near the floor. Ray stood in the center and slowly turned. This is not a duplex, she said. This is a hardware store having a nervous breakdown. It has walls, some. It has new windows, still some. Malik pointed at the ceiling. Roof structure's decent over this half. Ray looked at him. Are you trying to encourage her? No. Good. Callie opened a narrow door and found a staircase leading to the basement. She closed it again. No, Ray said. I didn't say anything. You looked interested. I need to know what's down there. Moisture, spiders, and a bill. Malik nodded. That's accurate. They returned to 412. Ray photographed the inspection summary, while Malik wrote the names of 2 roofers on the back of an old tile sample. Neither promised anything. Neither said the place was hopeless. That was more dangerous than hopelessness. When Malik unplugged the work light, dusk had settled across Ralston Avenue. The adults with folding chairs were gone. A radio still played from an upstairs window, the announcer's voice rising and falling through static. Callie locked the front door. Malik tested it after her. Pull harder next time. Deadbolt didn't catch. I locked it. You performed the concept of locking it. Ray snorted. Callie pulled the handle, turned the key again, and heard the bolt slide fully into place. There, she said. There. Malik gathered the extension cord. You selling? I haven't even accepted it. That wasn't my question. Then ask me after I know what it costs. It'll cost more than you want. Everything costs more than I want. He watched her for a moment, then nodded toward the neighboring alley. I'm usually back there until 7. If you come alone, don't go through the rear room. And don't trust the porch rail. Anything else? Blue key is Unit A, even though it says A on the door, and the key says front. That makes no sense. Edith labeled them. Right. Malik walked toward his shop, trailing the coiled cord over one shoulder. Ray waited until he disappeared. He's attractive in an irritating municipal way. What does that mean? He looks like he knows where shutoff valves are. That's not attractive. You're holding 4 keys to a flooded building. Your standards may shift. Callie's phone rang again. This time it was Grant. She answered, "What? Hello to you too. Mom says you're avoiding her. I was inside a building." "What building?" Callie looked at the boarded windows. "One I inherited." Grant was silent long enough that she checked the screen. "You inherited a building?" "A duplex." "From who?" "Edith Price, a former client." "Is that legal?" "Nice talking to you." "Wait, I didn't mean, Callie, what kind of duplex?" Before she could answer, her mother's voice came through the line, farther from the phone, but perfectly clear. "Ask her where it is." Grant had put her on speaker. Callie closed her eyes. "It's on Ralston," she said. Lorna made a small sound, not quite a laugh, more like relief escaping through the wrong opening. "Oh, honey," she said. "That old wreck?" Ray's head turned sharply. "You know it?" Callie asked. "I drove you there once when your car was in the shop. It looked condemned then." "It isn't condemned. Thank God for that, at least. But you can't take this on. You don't have a home, and Edith leaves you a construction site." Tom said something Callie could not make out. Lorna answered him, "No, she says it's a duplex." Then, to Callie, she said, "Sell it. Whatever someone offers, take it and be grateful." Callie looked through the window beside the front door. In the darkness, she could just make out the pale strip of masking tape across the unfinished bathroom floor. "I haven't decided. What is there to decide?" The question was so familiar that Callie nearly answered it the old way. Instead, she tightened her hand around Edith's keys. "That's what I'm going to find out." Lorna sighed into Grant's phone. "Callie, please don't turn this into another argument about whether we believe in you." "I didn't." "You're doing it with your tone." "What tone?" "That one." Ray leaned against Callie's car and mouthed, "Hang up." Callie should have. Instead, she said, "I've been inside the building for 20 minutes. You've known about it for 90 seconds, and you've already decided what I should do. Because sometimes a bad situation is simply a bad situation. Your father says the taxes alone could bury you." Tom's voice floated through the speaker. "I said, ask about the taxes." "She's right," Grant said. "How much are they?" Callie told him. Grant gave a low whistle. Lorna pounced on the sound. "There. Grant understands. Grant makes his living replacing systems people ignored for 20 years, Callie said. "Of course he understands expensive noises." "I can come look," Grant said. "You think I should sell. I think you should know what you're selling." "That was annoyingly reasonable," Lorna said. "And where exactly are you supposed to stay while you conduct this research project?" "My couch has very strong opinions," Ray called toward the phone. There was a pause. "Is that Ray?" Lorna asked. "No, it's the couch." Ray nodded approvingly. Lorna lowered her voice, which on speaker made her sound no more private. "Callie, I am trying to keep you from making a decision because you're hurt. Then maybe stop helping with the hurt." Grant said her name softly. Callie ended the call. For a moment, she and Ray stood beneath the weak streetlight without speaking. "You know," Ray said, "I used to think my family could turn a weather report into an argument. Mine could make weather apologize." "You going to let Grant look?" "Probably. He might be useful." "He enjoys being useful when it comes with tools." Ray opened the passenger door. That is the Mercer family motto. At the apartment, Callie spread the inspection summary, tax statement, and photographs across Ray's dining table. Ray made grilled cheese while Callie searched every phrase she did not understand. Moisture intrusion became mold, structural failure, respiratory illness, and, after 3 clicks, a photograph of a house collapsing into a sinkhole. "Stop using the internet," Ray said. "I'm researching. You're typing ordinary problems into a machine designed to terrify you. The joists could be compromised. The joists could also be joists." Callie added the known numbers on the back of an envelope. Taxes, insurance, roof, electrical, plumbing. Each answer generated 2 blank spaces beneath it. Ray set down a sandwich. "I can't eat." "You can. I've seen you. I mean now." Eat half anxiously. Callie took a bite without tasting it. The voicemail from Lorna waited unopened. Another from Grant said he could meet at Ralston after his first service call. A third came from Meredith Pike. "We received a written inquiry regarding the property," Meredith said. "You are under no obligation to respond, but the interested party is prepared to make an as-is offer. Please call me in the morning." Ray heard the message from the stove. "There's your escape hatch." Callie looked at the numbers on the envelope. "Maybe." "You say that like escape hatches are shameful?" "They're not." Then what? Callie picked at the toasted edge of the sandwich. Edith could have sold it. Edith could have done a lot of things. She once spent an entire session pretending not to understand you because you used the phrase energy conservation. She said you conserve jam, not energy. She was exhausting. She was scared. So are you. That's different. Because? Callie looked down at Edith's keys beside the envelope. Ray sat across from her. You don't owe a dead woman bankruptcy. I know. Do you? I also don't want to sell the first solid thing anybody ever gave me because my mother laughed at it. That would also be a bad reason. I know. Ray pushed the plate closer. Then eat the other half. Maybe wisdom lives under cheese. Grant arrived at Ralston the next morning in a white Barlow heating and cooling van. Callie had seen the van outside the bungalow dozens of times, but now the company logo on its side looked like the flag of a country that had chosen him. He got out wearing work pants and carrying a canvas tool bag. I brought your mattress to our warehouse, he said before hello. Your boss is okay with that? He thinks it's packing material. It's under a tarp, right? It's inside a building, Callie. That must be nice. Grant glanced at her. Can we have one conversation where I'm not the opposing attorney? You're not dressed well enough. He almost smiled. Malik was standing near the alley, fitting hinges to one of the cabinet doors Callie had seen the night before. He lifted 2 fingers in greeting. Grant looked from him to Callie. Who's that? The man with electricity. That answer raises questions. He owns the workshop. I rent it, Malik called without looking up. Excellent hearing, Grant said. Thin walls. Grant tried the porch rail. It shifted beneath his hand. Don't trust that, Malik said. I wasn't planning to. You put your weight on it. I was testing it. Malik looked at Callie. Family? Unfortunately, she and Grant said together. Inside, Grant changed. The resentment did not vanish from Callie's body, but it had to make room for the fact that her brother knew what he was doing. He checked the electrical panel without touching it, photographed labels, traced duct openings, and knelt beside the capped gas line with quiet concentration. He did not dramatize the damage. He also did not soften it. No furnace, he said in 4-1-2. I noticed. There's ductwork. I also noticed. Some of it may be reusable. I did not notice that. Grant glanced up. That's why I'm here. In 4-14, he removed a vent cover and aimed a light into the wall. This side had forced air before the renovation. Returns undersized. Supply runs aren't terrible. So it's good? No. It's less bad in one specific way. Malik appeared in the doorway with 3 coffees. Callie looked at the cups. How did you know? I didn't. I bought 2, then saw his van. Grant accepted one. Black? Caramel? Callie laughed. Grant stared at the label. What is happening? Drink it, she said. It's a family tradition. They spent 2 hours moving room by room. The back roof needed immediate attention, but the visible framing was dry in more places than Callie expected. The old windows in 412 would need replacement eventually. The new ones in 414 had been installed correctly. The missing floor covered a limited area around pipes that had been relocated for the accessible bathroom. Grant stood over Edith's taped layout with his hands on his hips. This is why the plumbing looks strange. It's wider for a walker. It's a lot of bathroom. A bathroom is usually where people discover they've been designed out of their own home. Grant looked at her. What? Nothing? You made a face. I was thinking, you can do both? He crouched and measured between the taped doorway lines. 38 inches. She wanted 36 clear. You'd get it? Callie watched him measure again. Could you make the heating work with this layout? Grant rocked back on his heels. That depends on money. Everything depends on money, not everything. Name one thing in this building. He glanced at the masking tape. Spite. Malik laughed from the kitchen. Grant stood. Look, the mechanical work is not what kills this. The roof might, the electrical might. Plumbing could get ambitious. You'd need someone to look at the structure. But, I didn't say but. You have a butt face. My face does not. It does, Malik said. Grant ignored him. But if the joists are sound and the roof repair is localized, this isn't a teardown. Callie's stomach tightened. You said I should sell. I said you should know what you're selling, so now you think I should keep it? No. He rubbed the back of his neck. Keeping it would be extremely hard, but not stupid. Grant took too long. Grant, not automatically stupid. It was the closest thing to encouragement he had offered her since nursing school. A truck pulled up at the curb. A stocky woman in work boots climbed out and introduced herself as Denise, the first roofer on Malik's list. She spent 15 minutes on a ladder and another 10 in the attic access above 414. "The tarp makes it look dramatic," she said afterward. "People love a tarp. Tells the whole neighborhood there's suffering." "Is there suffering?" Callie asked. "There's always suffering. Here, you've got failed flashing, rotten decking along maybe 6 feet, and shingles old enough to order their own drinks. I can stop the active leak and replace the damaged section. Full roof buys you time longer. Costs you more." "How much more?" Denise wrote 2 numbers on her card. The repair number was $6,400. The replacement number was almost 17. Callie stared at them. Grant asked questions about underlayment and ventilation. Malik asked when Denise could start. Callie heard both men speaking, but could not hold the words. $6,400 was not an impossible amount in the world. People spent it every day. Callie just did not know any of those people well enough to borrow from them. Her phone rang. Meredith had the offer. $58,000 as is, with the buyer covering ordinary transfer costs and allowing the estate to leave all remaining materials in place. After taxes and expenses, Callie would receive enough to erase her student loans and still put a deposit on an apartment. Meredith gave her the number without inflection. "You don't need to answer today," she said. "How long is the offer open?" 5 business days. Callie walked away from the others and stood near the weeds at the edge of the property. Across the street, someone had set the folding chairs out again, though no one occupied them yet. The duplex loomed behind her, full of leaks, wires, dust, and instructions from a woman who had not explained herself. With one signature, Callie could become unburdened. Through the open door, she could see Grant standing inside Edith's taped bathroom. He was holding one end of a measuring tape while Malik held the other, the two of them arguing about whether a wall could move 3 inches. "Ms. Mercer," Meredith said, "I'm here. Would you like me to send the offer for review?" "Yes. And the acceptance paperwork for the bequest." Callie looked at the blue tarp shifting in the morning wind. "Yes," she said. "Send that too." Callie ended the call and found all 3 of them looking at her. "Well," Grant asked, "there's an offer?" "How much?" she told him. Denise gave a low whistle remarkably similar to Grant's when he heard about the taxes. Malik did not react. He took the roofer's card from Callie, turned it over, and wrote the 2 estimates more clearly beneath Denise's handwriting. Grant looked toward the duplex. "As is?" "As is." "With the taxes coming out of the estate?" "Yes." "Callie, I know. You could pay off school, I know, and have money left." "I understand subtraction, Grant." Denise folded her ladder. "An offer doesn't fix the roof." Grant looked at her. "That's my point. Your point sounded like you were asking the roof to make a counteroffer." She carried the ladder to her truck before Grant could answer. Malik handed Callie the card. "Danner? How did you know? He's been leaving cards in that door for 2 years. You know him?" "I know what his signs look like." Grant rubbed a streak of dust from his forearm. "He's not the issue. The number is." "The number is good," Malik said. "Thank you. You're welcome." Callie waited for one of them to tell her what good meant. Neither did. The written offer arrived before she left Ralston. It was 6 pages long and used 17 words where Callie would have used 3. She read it sitting on the porch step that did not wobble, with Malik working across the alley and Grant taking a call beside his van. At the bottom of the 3rd page, $58,000 looked strangely small. She had never held that much money. She had owed amounts close to it, which was apparently different. Debt arrived a little at a time, disguised as tuition, transmission work, and a credit card used for groceries during clinical rotations. Money offered all at once looked theatrical, like an amount on a game show. Grant finished his call and sat beside her. "That porch rail's going to come down," he said. "I'm not touching it. You're thinking near it." She gave him the phone. He read the offer slowly. No financing contingency. Quick close. Materials stay. He gets the bathtub. He gets everything. The ginger ale, too. "What ginger ale?" "Never mind." Grant scrolled back to the 1st page. "It's clean." "You sound disappointed." "I'm not." "Then why do you sound like that?" "Because yesterday it was an old wreck. Today I know the duct runs aren't terrible. That's practically poetry from you." He handed back the phone. You should still take it. You said keeping it wasn't automatically stupid. I also said it would be extremely hard. Maybe I heard the nicer part. That's because Malik was standing there looking judgmental. Across the alley, Malik looked up from his workbench. Thin walls. There aren't any walls between us, Grant called. Then imagine how clearly I heard you. Grant stood. I have another service call. Thanks for coming. He paused as if he had expected her to make the words difficult. Send me the inspection summary. I'll ask around about the panel without telling Mom. That condition wasn't stated. It is now. He frowned but nodded. Fine. Before getting into the van, he pointed at the porch rail. Don't lean. I know. You know a lot while doing the opposite. When his van disappeared, Malik crossed the alley carrying a push broom. Callie eyed it. What's that for? Pushing? I haven't accepted the property. Dust doesn't care about title transfer. She took the broom. Do you have an opinion about the offer? Yes. Would you like to share it? No. You shared opinions about my shoes. Shoes are simple. He returned to his workshop. She should have left. Instead, she swept the front room of 412. The work gave her somewhere to put the static inside her. She gathered plaster chips, dead beetles, brittle wire clippings, and enough sawdust to build a smaller duplex. She did not improve anything. She merely revealed what was underneath. At 5, a silver sport utility vehicle pulled to the curb. A man in a white shirt got out, checked the address, and approached with a leather folder. Callie Mercer? She rested both hands on the broom handle. Yes. Cole Danner. We spoke through Ms. Pike's office. We didn't speak. Communicated then. Cole smiled easily. He was in his 40s, neat without looking fragile, and wore work boots too clean to have encountered work. I was driving nearby, he said. Thought I might answer any questions about the offer. How did you know I was here? He glanced at her car. That was not an answer, but it was enough of one. You can come in, she said. Watch the floor. Cole walked through both units with the practiced attention of someone who had already decided what he saw. He photographed ceilings, windows, and exterior walls. He did not touch Edith's walker. He stepped over the taped bathroom as if it were spilled string. We'd simplify this, he said. How? Bring the bath back to a standard footprint. You're losing rentable square footage. It's accessible. It was going to be accessible. Same thing, not to a lender. His tone remained pleasant. That irritated her more than if he had been dismissive. Cole tapped one metal stud with his knuckle. We'd probably open this up, put in durable flooring, basic kitchens, nothing fancy, get both sides earning. What would you charge? For rent? Yes. He named an amount higher than Ray's entire monthly take-home pay after student loan deductions. For each side, that neighborhood is moving. It's standing still right now. It won't be. He smiled again, not offended. Ms. Price turned down less, if that helps. It doesn't. I respect that she had a vision. But vision gets expensive. Callie looked at the red pencil marks above the unfinished sink. Why 58? She asked. Land, shell, 2 legal units, some usable improvements. We assume risk. Do you think you'd lose money? Not if we do our job. Then you're not assuming that much. Cole laughed softly. You negotiate. I ask questions. Same muscle. At the door, he handed her a card she had already seen wedged into the jamb. No pressure from me, he said. But the building will not become cheaper while you think. He left behind the faint smell of expensive laundry detergent. Malik waited until the vehicle turned the corner before emerging from the alley. You could have warned me. You looked like you were winning. It wasn't an argument. You looked like you were winning a very polite argument. Callie leaned the broom against the wall. He wants to take out the bathroom. He wants the largest number of things that can legally be called bedrooms. Did Edith ever talk to him? Once on the porch, she made him stand in the rain. That's not helpful. It helped me. She locked the door and checked the deadbolt twice. Ray had a folded notice on the dining table when Callie returned. It was not an eviction warning. The landlord had simply reminded Ray that her lease prohibited guests from staying more than 7 consecutive nights without written approval. How does he know? Callie asked. Mr. Petros downstairs counts shoes. We wear the same size. He counts attitude too. Callie read the notice again. Ray opened the refrigerator with unnecessary force. You can stay through Friday. After that, we rotate. One night here, one night somewhere else. He can count all he wants. I'm not getting you in trouble. You're already in trouble. I'm asking you to be less selfish with it. That sentence doesn't make sense. It does if you're tired. Ray took out 2 cans of soup. What did the investor say? That he'd remove everything Edith planned and pay you enough to stop sleeping on my couch. Yes. Ray set 1 can on the counter. I hate that those facts belong in the same sentence. Callie's phone rang. Lorna did not say hello. Grant told me the offer. Of course he did. He's worried about you. He told you after I asked him not to. I'm his mother. That's not a subpoena. Do you know what $58,000 could do for you? Callie looked at Ray, who had begun opening the soup with slow, violent turns of the can opener. Yes. You could clear those loans, get an apartment, replace that car before it leaves you on the highway again. This is Edith giving you a clean start. Edith could have sold it herself. She was ill. She had 2 years before that. Lorna went quiet. Callie heard Tom in the background, asking whether their cable box had arrived. Then Lorna said, "Sometimes older people attach meaning to things because they can't admit those things failed. You mean like houses? That is unfair. You sold Grandma's house because keeping it didn't make financial sense, which is exactly what I'm trying to explain to you. And you gave the money to Grant. We invested in Grant. Right. He gets an investment. I get an escape hatch. You got a building from a woman you knew for 8 months. Stop talking as if we did that to you." Callie pressed her fingers to her forehead. "The sewing basket," she said. "What about it? Did you find it? We are discussing your future." "No, you're discussing what you want me to do. I'm asking where my property is. It was my mother's. She gave it to me. You don't even have anywhere to put it." The sentence arrived exactly where Lorna meant it to. Callie ended the call. Ray placed a bowl of soup in front of her. "If you sell the duplex, do it because you want the money. I know. If you keep it, don't do it to make your mother choke. I know. Even though I understand the appeal." Callie opened the offer again after Ray went to bed. She read it on the safe side of the couch with Edith's keys beside her, and Mr. Petros's television murmuring through the floor. At midnight, she opened the acceptance paperwork. At 12:40, she closed both. In the morning, she called Meredith. "I'm accepting the bequest," she said. "That does not require you to reject the offer. I understand. You can still sell after the transfer. I understand that too." Callie signed the acceptance on her phone. Then she opened Cole Danner's offer and pressed decline. Her thumb hovered only once. Afterward, she called Denise. "I can afford the repair," Callie said. "Not the full roof," I figured. "How much to get on your schedule?" $2,000 deposit. Callie checked her savings account. The number there was $3,108. "When?" "Friday." Denise was quiet for half a breath. "Then, I can start Monday." Callie closed her eyes. "Put me down." The bank app asked whether Callie was sure she wanted to transfer $2,000. She stared at the question long enough for the screen to dim. No, she thought. She was not sure she wanted to transfer $2,000 to a roofer for a building without a working shower. She pressed confirm. Denise texted a thumbs up, followed by a photograph of roofing felt and the words, "Weather looks decent Monday." Callie's savings balance became $1,108. She took a screenshot, not because she needed a record, but because the number seemed capable of slipping lower while she slept. "Did you do it?" Ray asked. They were packing Callie's clothes back into contractor bags. Ray had found 3 cardboard boxes behind the recycling bins, but one smelled like onions, so the bags remained the better option. "I did it. How do you feel?" "Like I swallowed a receipt." Ray folded 2 uniform tops and tucked them into a duffel. "You can still stay here tonight." Mr. Petros taped another notice to the door. He enjoys tape. He underlined consecutive. "We skip Saturday, reset the clock, and you come back Sunday." That is not how consecutive works. It is how optimism works. Callie zipped the duffel. "I can sleep at the duplex." Ray stopped folding. "Temporarily. The duplex with the floor hole. I won't sleep in the floor hole. The duplex with no electricity. Malik gave me a battery lantern. The fact that Malik anticipated you doing this should not count as permission. I own it. Almost. I accepted it. Your name is not on the deed yet. My name is on several alarming documents." Ray sat on the arm of the couch. "Does Meredith know you're moving in?" "I'm not moving in. I'm storing myself there overnight. That is moving in with worse furniture." Callie tied the bag. "I can't spend money on a motel. You could have spent someone else's money on a motel if you had accepted $58,000. I know. I'm not saying you chose wrong. It sounds a little like that. I'm saying I reserve the right to point out the absurdity while helping you carry bags into it. Mr. Petros opened his downstairs door as they made the third trip. He was a compact man in gray slippers, with a mustache that seemed wider than the rest of him. "Visitor leaving?" he asked. Ray shifted the box in her arms. "No, we're stealing my own belongings in broad daylight." Mr. Petros looked at Callie. "Lease says 7 nights." "I know," Callie said. "Not my rule. You put the notice on the door. I put management notice on door. Management makes rule." "Management is your sister," Ray said. "Still management." He stepped into the hallway and lowered his voice. "You can come for shower, not sleep. Shoes confuse people." Callie blinked. "That's very kind. I am not kind. Building insurance is kind, of course." Mr. Petros returned to his apartment. Before closing the door, he said, "Couch bad for back anyway." Ray waited until the latch clicked. "He has been listening to us. Thin walls? You've known Malik for 4 days and already talk like him." They carried the bags down to Callie's car. The weather had turned warm again. By the time they reached Ralston, the contractor bags had softened in the heat, and Ray had accused one of them of breathing. Malik was in the workshop fitting a drawer front. He came outside when Callie opened the hatchback. "What's all that?" "Temporary storage," Callie said. Ray pointed at her. "She means herself." "No," Callie said. "Yes." Malik looked from the bags to the dark duplex. "No." "Thank you," Ray said. Callie shut the hatch. "I'm not asking either of you." "Water's still off," Malik said. "I brought water." "Toilet?" "There's one in 412. It's not connected. I'm aware." "Then it's a chair with plumbing ambitions." Ray crossed her arms. "Tell her about fire. There isn't power to start one." "Candles." "I don't have candles," Callie said. "People buy candles. I bought a roof." Malik wiped his hands on a rag. "The front room in 414 is dry. Keep clear of the metal studs in the dark. I have a camp toilet somewhere." Callie stared at him. "What?" "You went from no to camp toilet very quickly. I respect failed arguments." He found it in the back of his workshop beneath a folded canopy and a box of cabinet pulls. Ray made him demonstrate the locking mechanism twice. Then she helped Callie set up a folding cot between the new windows in 414, far from the unfinished wiring and the bathtub lying on its side. The room looked less like a home after the cot arrived. Before, its emptiness had been architectural. Now, it was personal. Ray spread a quilt over the cot. "You call me if you hear anything. I'm going to hear everything. Half the walls are imaginary. Anything with intent. I have the tire shop on one side and Malik using power tools on the other. I said intent." Malik plugged an extension cord into his workshop and ran it through the front window, then connected one work light and a power strip. "You can charge your phone until I leave," he said. "After that, I'm unplugging it." "Why?" "Because I don't want to wake up to the smell of a melted extension cord. I thought you said there wasn't power to start a fire. Then you brought power," Ray pointed at him. "Good. Continue being irritating." She left after extracting 3 promises from Callie, 2 from Malik, and 1 from the camp toilet. At 7, the power strip went dead. Callie sat on the cot with her battery lantern, eating crackers and an apple. The building made quiet noises around her. Metal cooled with small ticks. Water moved in pipes somewhere under the street, close enough to hear, but not to use. The loose tarp shifted above 412, like someone turning over in bed. She had spent years entering other people's homes with a clipboard and a plan. She had asked whether they felt safe at night. She had measured routes to bathrooms and recommended lights beside beds. Now, her own route ended at a bucket with a lid. The absurdity made her laugh once into the dark. Then she cried so suddenly she almost choked on the apple. It was not a graceful release. Her nose ran. Her shoulders shook. She pressed the heels of her hands into her eyes and saw the bungalow porch, the white putty where her lock had been, Edith's walker standing inside a doorway that did not exist. A knock sounded against the window. Callie went still. Malik's face appeared beyond the glass, distorted by the manufacturer's sticker. She wiped her cheeks and opened the front door 3 inches. "What?" He held out a roll of toilet paper. "I have some." "Good. Did you come over to check?" "No." "You knocked on the window. I saw the lantern." That's how lanterns work. He looked at her face and politely looked away. Lock pulls loose if you don't lift the handle. I know how to lock it. You performed the concept yesterday. Callie opened the door wider, lifted the handle, and locked it in front of him. Good night, Malik. Good night, Callie. He started across the alley, then stopped. Edith slept here once. Callie's hand remained on the lock. Why? Contractor left the back open during a storm. She sat in 412 all night with a golf club. Did she know how to use a golf club? No. Lorraine played. Was Lorraine here? By then, no. Malik glanced toward the dark windows. She made it until 3 in the morning, then called me because the roof sounded haunted. What did you do? Brought coffee. Callie looked at the paper cup he had set on the sill without her noticing. Is it caramel? Black. That's better. No, it isn't. He left her with the coffee. Denise arrived Monday at 7:12 with 2 workers, a trailer, and a radio tuned to classic rock. Callie watched them strip back the damaged shingles before driving to her first appointment. At 10:30, Denise called. There's more rotten decking around the vent than I could see from inside. How much more? About 800 if we replace it properly. Callie closed her eyes in the hallway of an assisted living building. Can we do less properly? Yes. Denise waited. No, Callie said. Don't answer that. I wasn't going to. Callie checked her schedule. She had a 40-minute gap at lunch and 3 open evenings that week. Her supervisor, Marcia, had been asking whether anyone could cover late visits. Do it properly. You want photos? Yes. You'll regret that. Denise was right. The photographs looked like someone had fed the roof through a paper shredder. Callie studied them between clients while volunteering for every available evening visit. On Tuesday, she arrived 14 minutes late to see Mr. Delaney, a former machinist with a talent for launching socks. He sat in his recliner with his arms folded. You look worse than me, he said. That's not how therapy works. Maybe it should. I'm sorry I'm late. You building a railroad? A duplex. Same level of corruption. Callie set down her bag. Can we work on the sock aid? No. Why not? You haven't eaten. She had not. Mr. Delaney pointed his cane toward the kitchen. There's turkey in the refrigerator. I can't eat your food. You can if I document it as resistance training. He made her a sandwich while she stood near enough to intervene, but far enough to let him do it himself. His hands trembled when he opened the mustard. He swore at the jar, not at his hands. You own this duplex? He asked. Almost. Finished? Almost in the sense that it has an address. Ah. He cut the sandwich unevenly and gave her the larger half. Never trust a building that wants praise for having an address. The roof was closed by Thursday afternoon. Denise sent the final invoice with photographs of straight shingles, new flashing, and a vent that no longer appeared to be sinking. Callie paid the remaining balance with most of her savings and part of a credit card she had promised herself she would stop using. That night, rain came hard enough to blur the lights across Ralston Avenue. Callie stood in the old kitchen of 412 with Malik's work light shining behind her. The bucket remained beneath the stain. They waited. This is a strange social life, Malik said. You came over. You texted roof test. I thought you'd understand. I did. That's the concerning part. Rain hammered the new section. Water rushed through the gutters. Callie watched the ceiling until her neck hurt. The bucket remained empty. She crouched and touched the bottom with 2 fingers. Dry. It was the first thing the duplex had given her that did not come with a warning. Callie sat on the unfinished floor and laughed. Malik lowered himself beside her, favoring his right shoulder so slightly that she might not have noticed a week earlier. But noticing was her job. She looked at him. He looked back. What? Your shoulder. My shoulder is fine. That's not what your face says. My face does not show structural information. Apparently everybody's does. Outside, rain struck the roof and stayed outside. Malik rolled his shoulder once and immediately stopped, as if the movement had betrayed him. It's an old thing, he said. That is not a diagnosis. It's what people say when they don't want free medical advice. I'm not a doctor. Then we agree. He pushed himself to his feet. Callie noticed he used his left hand against the counter. How long? Since before you owned a condemned adjacent building. It isn't condemned, then we both have things we're sensitive about. He took the work light and headed toward the front room. Callie followed. What makes it worse? Questions. Reaching overhead? No. Lifting away from your body? No. Sleeping? He stopped. "Ah," she said. "That was not an answer. Your face. My face is private. Not when it keeps filling out forms." Malik unplugged the extension cord. Darkness rushed into the corners. "It's fine," he said. "I tore something years ago. Did the exercises. Stopped doing the exercises. Now the weather gives a performance review." Callie picked up her lantern. "Show me your workshop." "Absolutely not. You've walked through every unsafe room I own. That was neighborhood defense. You also insulted my shoes. Also defense. I'm not gonna make you touch your toes. I can touch my toes. Now I definitely think you can't." He gave her a long look, then carried the light across the alley. Malik's workshop occupied the ground floor of a narrow cinder-block building behind the hardware store. Cabinet doors stood in padded racks along one wall. Sheets of plywood leaned upright near a table saw. The place was orderly until Callie looked above shoulder height. Then it became a geography of bad decisions. Clamps hung over the workbench. Sandpaper and router bits filled high cabinets. The lumber rack required Malik to reach overhead and pull boards toward himself while stepping backward. Callie pointed at it. "That. It's a lumber rack. It's an injury vending machine. It came with the shop. So did the water stain in my kitchen. I'm not defending it." He set down the light. "Where else would it go?" She walked the perimeter, measuring with her eyes. "Those drawer fronts don't need their own rack. They're sorted by project. They're taking up the only waist height storage you have. They're valuable. So is your shoulder." That sounded rehearsed. "I say versions of it all day." He leaned against the bench. "How much would you charge to rearrange my life? How much would you charge to build lower cabinets in 412? You don't have walls yet. I'll get walls. You don't have electricity. I'll get that too. Confidence is getting expensive on this block. Is that a no?" Malik glanced at the cabinet sketch pinned above his bench. "It's a maybe. Put masking tape on it." Sunday morning, Grant arrived with Callie's mattress strapped inside a box truck borrowed from Barlow Heating and Cooling. Callie stood in the doorway of 414, still holding her toothbrush. "What happened to the van? Your mattress is not packing material anymore. What changed?" "My manager found out it was a mattress. Sharp man. He wants his loading bay back." Grant climbed into the truck and dragged the mattress toward him. It was dry, though one corner still carried a faint brown mark from the puddle outside the bungalow. Malik appeared with coffee before Callie called him. Grant accepted the caramel cup without comment. "You're learning," Callie said. "I'm tired." They maneuvered the mattress through the front door and leaned it against the new windows. "You're actually sleeping here?" Grant asked. "You brought my bed. I thought you put it in storage." "With which money?" He looked at the cot, the lantern, the camp toilet tucked discreetly behind the sideways bathtub. "Mom knows?" "No. She's going to know. Not from you." Grant sighed. "You keep asking me to lie. I keep asking you not to provide live commentary. That distinction works only inside your head." Malik took the empty coffee tray from him. "You helping today?" Grant glanced at the porch. "I brought lumber for the rail." "Pressure treated?" "Yes." "What size? Do you want my resume?" "Thin walls." "I heard you talk about ductwork." Grant named the size. Malik nodded. "That'll work." The two men repaired the porch rail with such competitive politeness that Callie left them to it and began scraping old adhesive from the kitchen floor. Every few minutes, one of them asked her for a tool the other one was holding. By noon, the rail no longer shifted. Grant moved inside to examine the electrical panel again. He removed the cover, stared for several seconds, then put it back. "What?" Callie asked. "You need an electrician. You said some of the duct work was reusable. This is electricity. It all comes out of walls." "Please never say that to the electrician." A licensed electrician Grant trusted stopped by near the end of the day. He did not create new terror. He organized the existing terror into a written estimate. The panel was too small for 2 units and showed heat damage around 1 breaker. Several circuits had been started but not completed. Bringing safe power to 414 and replacing the panel would cost $2,900 if Callie handled the wall openings and repairs afterward. Finishing 412 would be separate. "Can it wait?" she asked. The electrician looked at the temporary cord running from Malik's shop. "You can wait. Electricity is less patient." After he left, Callie sat on the porch step with the estimate. Grant stood over her. "I can ask whether he'll split the payments. I still need a deposit. I can lend it? No." "Why do you keep saying no before I tell you the terms?" "Because your money already has my house in it." His face hardened. "It wasn't your house." There was no cruelty in his tone this time. There was fatigue, and perhaps a belief he needed the sentence to remain true. Callie folded the estimate in half. Right? I didn't mean... You always mean it until you hear it. Grant sat beside her. The new porch rail cast a straight shadow across the steps. Mom called the bungalow her house when Grandma was alive, he said. Callie looked at him. She used to talk about what she'd change. Open the kitchen, remove the paneling. Grandma hated it. Grandma said, "Open kitchens, let your company inspect your dishes." Grant smiled. She told Mom she could knock down walls in her own house. Neither spoke for a moment. Grant rubbed sawdust from his thumb. Maybe Mom learned the wrong part. Before Callie could answer, Lorna's car pulled up. Tom was driving. Lorna was out before he turned off the engine. She took in Grant's borrowed truck, the tools, and Callie sitting on the porch in paint-stained pants. "You're living here." It was not a question. Grant stood. "Mom, don't." Callie remained seated. "How did you find out?" Lorna looked at Grant. "I didn't tell her," he said quickly. Dad drove past the other night. Tom had climbed out carrying a foil-covered casserole and a package of clean sheets. He looked apologetic about both. "We were coming back from dinner," he said. "Saw your car." "3 nights in a row?" Callie asked. Tom looked at the casserole. "Your mother wanted to be sure." Lorna walked into 414 without waiting for permission. Callie followed her. The mattress now lay on the floor with the quilt Ray had provided. Her uniforms hung from a temporary pipe. Bottled water stood beside the camp toilet. A mirror leaned against a metal stud. Lorna turned slowly in the middle of the room. "This is not a home. I'm aware. It doesn't have walls. It has exterior walls." "Callie, what do you want me to say?" "I want you to say you made a mistake." Tom set the casserole on the edge of the sideways bathtub. "Your mother thinks you could stay with us for a little while." Lorna glanced at him as if the sentence had not yet been approved. "You have a 1-bedroom condo," Callie said. "The den has a pull-out chair," Tom said. "The den is your office," Lorna said. "It's a chair at night. And your files? I can move the files." Lorna rubbed her forehead. "That is not the point. The point is, she turned down $58,000 to sleep beside a toilet that isn't connected." "It's behind the bathtub," Callie said. "Stop making jokes." Callie's voice sharpened. "Stop walking into my space and telling me it doesn't count." Lorna stared at her. The room went quiet except for Malik Sander across the alley. Then Lorna noticed Edith's floor plan taped temporarily to the metal studs. "You're really doing this?" "Yes." "With what money?" "I'm working." "You were already working. I'm working more. And when you exhaust yourself, when the car breaks, when another roof leaks, are all these people going to keep appearing with coffee and lumber?" She gestured toward the door, where Grant and Malik stood, pretending not to listen. Callie did not have an answer. Lorna's expression changed. Fear softened her face before pride took it back. "I don't want to watch you sink," she said. "You didn't mind watching me leave." Tom lowered his eyes. Lorna went still. "We gave you 12 days. You put my bed outside before 7 in the morning. It was going to rain. It was raining." "Your father, rain shifts," Tom said quietly. Lorna turned on him. "That is not helpful." For one dangerous second, Callie almost laughed. So did Grant. The laughter passed among them, like a spark that failed to catch. Lorna looked around once more. "The offer may still be available." "I declined it." Her mother closed her eyes. When she opened them, the softness was gone. "Then, I hope Edith knew what she was asking you to sacrifice." She left without saying goodbye. Tom lingered beside the bathtub. "The casserole needs an oven. I don't have one." "I know." He seemed genuinely surprised by his own mistake. Malik said from the doorway, "I have one in the shop." Tom looked at him. "Of course you do." After her parents left, Callie carried the casserole across the alley. Malik cleared wood samples from a scarred table, while Grant found 3 forks. Ray arrived with a folded letter and an expression that emptied the humor from the room. "My rent is going up," she said. "How much?" Callie asked. Ray told her. Grant stopped opening the silverware drawer. "That's obscene," Malik said. "It's market rate," Ray replied. Apparently, the market has developed a drug problem. They ate Lorna's casserole from paper plates. Halfway through, Ray looked across the alley at the duplex. "You need income," she said. Callie set down her fork. "I need somewhere I can afford," Ray continued. Not tomorrow, I have 60 days. But if one of those units can be made livable, Ray, I'm not asking for a favor. It sounds like a favor. It sounds like rent. I don't want to take money from you for a promise. Then don't. Make a budget. Make a schedule. Make one of your terrifying checklists. Malik looked at Callie. She does have the face for checklists. Ray ignored him. You keep saying you don't want to be responsible for everybody. Fine, don't be. Be my landlord. That sounds worse. It probably is. But put it on paper. Later, after everyone left, Callie opened the small box she kept beneath her uniforms. Her grandmother's bracelet lay inside, a thin gold chain with a dented heart clasp. It was not the heirloom Lorna believed it was. The clasp pinched, the links caught on sweaters, and Callie had not worn it in years. The jeweler offered her $940. Callie thought of the sewing basket in her mother's storage unit, preserved because she had no proper place for it. Then she thought of the heat damage inside the electrical panel. She sold the bracelet. The electrician accepted the money as a deposit and agreed to split the rest over 2 payments. When Callie returned to Ralston, Malik had left a roll of masking tape on her mattress. A note was stuck to it. For the maybes. Callie used the masking tape to mark 3 rectangles on the unfinished floor of 412. Rent, she wrote inside the first. Materials went inside the second. Panic filled the third. Ray stood in the kitchen doorway, holding a legal pad. How much do I put in panic? Everything left. That is not how a budget works. It's how this building works. They had agreed to spend Saturday turning Ray's idea into numbers. Malik lent them 2 folding chairs. Grant provided an estimate for the heating work and circled 3 items he believed he could source used or discounted. Denise sent the names of a plumber and a drywall finisher. By noon, the table they did not have was covered with pages balanced across an old cabinet door. Ray tapped her pen against the proposed lease terms. I pay a security deposit after you have a certificate of occupancy. Agreed. Rent starts when I move in, not while I'm helping. Obviously. Not obviously. You're already trying to count my labor as friendship. I said I would buy lunch. That is exactly what I mean. Callie leaned back in the folding chair. You offered to help. I offered to enter a business arrangement with someone I trust. If we leave everything unspoken because we're friends, we'll be former friends with matching grudges. The words landed harder than Ray intended. Callie looked at the taped bathroom doorway. Her grandmother had called the porch her little place. Callie had paid utilities, patched screens, and cared for the woman who owned the house. No one had named what that work purchased. When ownership changed, all the old affection had become inadmissible. Okay, Callie said. We write down the labor at a fair hourly rate. I can't afford your hourly rate. Then it becomes credit toward the deposit after the unit is approved. That could take months. I have 60 days before my rent goes up. After that, I can go month to month at the higher rate for a while. How long is a while? Ray looked at the legal pad. Not forever. Callie took the pen and wrote labor credit beneath the deposit clause. Your landlord personality is terrifying, Ray said. I don't have a landlord personality. You drew panic on the floor. That's transparency. They worked through the afternoon. The numbers did not become friendly, but they became specific. Completing 412 first made the most sense. Its kitchen cabinets could be salvaged. The roof no longer leaked. The plumbing lines were already roughed in around the accessible layout. Once it was occupied, Ray's rent could help Callie finish 414 without borrowing against promises. Ray walked the taped bathroom with Edith's old walker. Do not make airplane noises, Callie said. I wasn't going to. You had the face. Ray turned through the doorway, back toward the future sink, and tried the approach to the shower. This is a very good bathroom, she said. It isn't a bathroom. It has excellent tape. The toilet's too close to the wall. Move the tape. That line is a drain. Then move the drain. Callie looked at her. Ray lowered the walker. Was that expensive? Everything you say is expensive. Put it in panic, Meredith called while they were measuring the kitchen. The transfer had been completed. The duplex now belonged to Callie in the official, taxable, irreversible sense. Congratulations, Meredith said. Though her tone suggested condolences remained available. Callie sat on the cabinet door between the folding chairs. That's it? You were expecting a ceremony? No. Good. I don't have one. Meredith reminded her about the insurance paperwork and the tax payment arrangement. She also said Cole Danner had asked whether Callie would reconsider. I won't. I'll relay that. Does he know the roof is repaired? He does not receive progress reports. Right. After the call, Ray waited. Well, it's mine. Ray glanced around the room. You should look more excited. I think I'm trying not to throw up. Also reasonable. Callie placed one foot inside the rectangle labeled panic. There. Accurate. The electrician began on Monday. For 2 days, the duplex filled with the sounds of drilling, metal covers clanging, and men calling measurements through walls. Callie worked late visits, slept badly, and woke early enough to let them in. On Wednesday, she fell asleep in her car outside Mr. Delaney's building. She had parked 11 minutes before his appointment and closed her eyes only to rest them. When she woke, 37 minutes had passed. Her phone showed 4 missed calls from the agency and 1 text from Mr. Delaney. If dead, cancel Thursday too. Callie ran inside with her therapy bag open and 1 shoelace untied. Mr. Delaney sat in his recliner wearing both socks. You did those yourself? I contain multitudes. I'm sorry, I know. No, really. I fell asleep in the car. You look like you've been losing an argument with a ceiling. Callie set her bag down and began checking his walker brakes, though they had not needed checking the day before. He watched her hands. You in trouble? He asked. My supervisor called. That's not what I asked. I'm fine. Your face says structural information. Callie looked at him. Something Malik says. This Malik handsome? That is irrelevant. So yes. She tightened a brake that was already tight. Mr. Delaney leaned forward. My wife used to clean when she was scared, scrubbed the same counter until everybody else confessed. I'm not scared. Then my walker's never been safer. Her supervisor was less interested in the walker. Marcia waited for Callie in the agency office at the end of the day. She was a broad-faced woman with close-cropped gray hair and a habit of removing her glasses before delivering news people would dislike. You missed almost half a visit. I stayed late. That does not repair the schedule. I know. You've taken 9 evening visits in 12 days. You said we needed coverage. I also need the person covering them to remain conscious. Callie folded her hands in her lap. Marcia took off her glasses. There it was. You're good at this job, Marcia said, which is why people keep letting you arrive exhausted and call it dedication. It won't happen again. I believe you mean that. I do not believe your calendar. I need the hours. Then choose 2 extra evenings, not every evening. If you're late again, I pull all the overtime for a month. Callie's stomach dropped. Marcia, that is me protecting your clients and you. It doesn't feel like protection. No, protection has terrible marketing. On the drive back to Ralston, the fuel light came on. Callie laughed so sharply she scared herself. She put $10 in the tank and stood beneath the gas station canopy, adding numbers on her phone. The second electrical payment was due Friday. Her regular paycheck would cover it if nothing else went wrong, a phrase the duplex seemed to interpret as an invitation. When she arrived, Malik had shifted every high storage bin in his workshop onto the floor. It looked as if a hardware store had sneezed. What happened? She asked. You? I did not do this. You said the upper cabinets were bad. I also said we needed a sequence. You wrote a sequence. I wrote it on the wall. I wiped the wall. Why? Sawdust. Callie stepped over a bin of hinges. You need zones. I had zones. You had archaeology. They spent an hour arranging hardware by frequency of use. Callie moved daily tools between waist and shoulder height, relegated rare items to high shelves, and marked a clear path between the saw and assembly table. Malik argued about nearly every change and quietly kept all but one. When he lifted a crate of drawer slides, his right shoulder faltered. Callie took the other end. Put it down. I have it. Put it down. They lowered the crate onto the bench. Malik turned away, jaw tight. I'm not going to make a speech, she said. Good. Your workbench is 2 inches too high. That's a speech. Your elbow lifts every time you sand. Lower the bench or raise the floor. I'm not raising the floor. Then lower the bench. It's built in. So is my kitchen, and you told me half of it should move. That kitchen is objectively hostile. So is this bench. He rubbed the front of his shoulder. Callie waited. What do you want? He asked. From your shoulder? From me. She looked across the alley at 412. The lower cabinets, the doors don't match, and 2 boxes have water damage. I know. Can you make the usable ones work without raising the counters? Yes. And show me how to rebuild the damaged boxes? Yes. In exchange, I redesign this space and you do the exercises you stopped doing. Malik narrowed his eyes. How many exercises? 3, 2, 3, twice a week, every day. That's not negotiation. You heard Cole? I have the muscle. He smiled despite himself. 3 exercises, 4 days, 6, 5, deal. They shook hands. His palm was rough and warm. Neither released immediately. Callie became conscious of sawdust on her cheek, the smell of cedar, and the fact that the workshop had gone quiet. Then the new electrical panel across the alley gave a loud metallic click. Both of them let go. Lights came on inside, 414. Callie ran. For the first time, the switches did something. A bare bulb illuminated the front room, casting clean white light over her mattress, the taped cords, and her uniforms hanging from the pipe. In 412, 3 temporary bulbs flickered, steadied, and revealed the old green wallpaper in a color Callie had not known it possessed. The electrician stood beside the panel. Nothing dramatic. Main breaker doing its job. Callie touched the switch beside the kitchen entrance and turned the light off. Then, on, off, on. You can stop testing it, he said. I know. She did it once more. Ray arrived after work, carrying a used microwave she had bought for $20. Grant came on Sunday with discounted ductwork and stayed to help Malik lower the workshop bench. Over the next week, the rooms began accumulating evidence of decisions: a working outlet, a braced pipe, cabinet boxes marked save or rebuild. The bathtub turned upright and stopped looking abandoned. Callie kept one promise to Marcia and failed another. She reduced her evening visits, but she filled the reclaimed hours with work at the Duplex. Sleep remained the expense she believed she could postpone. Malik noticed. One night, he found her sitting on the floor of 412, staring at the same cabinet hinge for several minutes. You're doing it wrong, he said. I'm not doing anything. That's what I mean. I need this door hung. You need food. I ate. What? She thought. Malik took the drill from her hand. Come on. I have a microwave now. A microwave isn't food. Ray brought soup. Soup isn't a plan. That sounds like something Mr. Delaney would say. Who's Mr. Delaney, a man who can put on socks and mind everybody's business? In the workshop, Malik heated leftover chili, while Callie sat at the lowered bench. He moved with less guarding in his shoulder. The clamps now hung beside the assembly area at chest height. You did the exercises, she said. 4 days. We agreed on 5. The week isn't over. He set a bowl in front of her. She ate 3 bites before realizing how hungry she was. Edith and Lorraine bought the Duplex because of a front step, Malik said. Callie looked up. Lorraine's old apartment had 1 concrete step. Landlord wouldn't let them add a rail because he said it ruined the look. 1 step? 1 step is enough if it's the step you can't cross. Malik sat across from her. Edith got mad. Lorraine found Ralston. They bought it before either one admitted they were getting older. Callie looked toward the lit windows across the alley. She wasn't trying to build something grand, he said. She wanted a door Lorraine didn't have to ask permission to use. Callie set down her spoon. The offer, the debt, the roof, and her mother's laughter had all made the Duplex feel like a test Edith had left behind. For the first time, it felt like an answer. Across the alley, the light stayed on in both unfinished homes. Callie carried the bowl of chili to the workshop doorway and stood there looking at 412. 1 step, she said. Malik came beside her. That's what Edith said, repeatedly, to anybody who would listen. Why didn't she tell me? You were there to teach her how to get over steps. I was there to help her decide whether getting over them was safe. She may not have appreciated the distinction. Callie smiled faintly. The front entrance to 412 had only a shallow threshold. The planned shower had no curb. The kitchen counters were lower in 2 sections, and the wide bathroom doorway sacrificed a linen closet that Cole Danner would have counted as rentable space. She had understood the measurements. She had not understood the argument inside them. The next morning, she peeled the tape labeled "Panic" from the floor and replaced it with "Contingency." Ray read it while sanding a cabinet door. That is the same rectangle. It has a better name. Does it have more money? No. Then Panic was more honest. Work on 412 settled into an uneven rhythm. Grant came on Sundays to rebuild sections of ductwork. Malik repaired cabinet boxes in exchange for Callie reorganizing the workshop and monitoring his exercises. Ray spent 3 evenings scraping adhesive, which she documented in 15-minute increments because, as she reminded Callie, friendship was not an accounting method. The plumber arrived on a Thursday and knelt beside the open floor with his flashlight between his teeth. He removed it long enough to say, "Drain's not where your tape thinks it is. The tape was based on the plans. The pipe was based on somebody changing their mind. How far off?" 14 inches. Callie stared into the opening. "Can you move it?" "Sure." She had begun to hate that word. "How much?" He gave her a number that consumed the contingency rectangle and several imaginary rectangles beside it. Ray leaned over the doorway. "Can the toilet stay where the pipe is?" Callie walked the route with Edith's walker. At the current location, the toilet would narrow the transfer space beside the shower and force anyone using a mobility device to back into the doorway. "It can," she said. "It shouldn't." The plumber shrugged. "Your house." Callie heard the phrase as both permission and accusation. "Move it." After he left, Ray sat on the sideways bathtub, which had become their unofficial meeting place. "We could have lived with it," she said. "You could have. I'm the one renting it. You're not the only person who may ever use that bathroom. That sounded like a brochure. It's 14 inches. It's $1,200. Callie folded the revised estimate. "Edith planned it this way. Edith isn't paying for it." The room went still. Ray lowered her voice. "I'm not saying do cheap work. I'm saying you're making every choice like changing it would betray her. I'm trying to finish what she started." "No, you're trying to finish what you think she would have wanted. Isn't that the point?" "I don't know. Am I renting from you or from Edith?" Callie looked at the faded floor plan pinned above the kitchen sink. Ray put the sandpaper aside. "You asked what color I wanted in the bedroom, then told me the blue I picked was too dark. You decided where my shelves go, because that reach is safer. Yesterday you moved my coffee maker on the drawing. The outlet is on the other side. You can add an outlet. Outlets cost money, so does moving a toilet apparently. That's different, because you decided it is." The truth of that stung. Callie sat beside her on the bathtub. "I do that with clients. Move their coffee. Decide what matters before I ask. You're good at your job. That wasn't a defense." Ray leaned her shoulder against Callie's. "I don't want you to save me from my rent increase. I want to rent a home from you." "I know, and I want dark blue. It'll make the room look smaller. It's my smaller room." Callie nodded. "Dark blue, and 2 shelves beside the stove. That's too close to heat. 1 shelf. Deal." They amended the kitchen plan. They added a clause allowing Ray to choose finishes within the agreed budget, which felt absurdly formal until both women signed beneath it. Grant found them measuring shelf clearances the following Sunday. "You two have a contract for paint?" "We have a lease draft," Ray said. "You're not legally supposed to sign a lease before occupancy approval," he said. "Thank you, Dad. Don't call me that. Then stop entering rooms with regulations." He carried a bundle of ductwork into the hall. Callie noticed shadows beneath his eyes. "You work last night?" "Emergency furnace. It was 70 degrees, restaurant walk-in freezer." That is not a furnace. It is when Barlow takes refrigeration calls, because Russ thinks saying no is a character flaw. Russ was the majority owner of the company Grant had bought into. Callie had heard their parents describe him as Grant's mentor. Grant pronounced his name like a rash. "I thought buying in gave you control," she said. "It gives me 12% of the opinion. Expensive opinion, apparently." Ray carried her paint samples into the bedroom, leaving them alone. Grant fitted 2 pieces of duct together, harder than necessary. "Mom wants pictures." "Why?" "She says she wants to understand what you're doing. She was here. It looks different now." "You sent her pictures?" "No." Callie waited. Grant did not look at her. "I sent Dad one of the porch rail." "And?" He showed her. "That's how showing works. She thinks the place has potential." Callie laughed without humor. "Last month it was a construction wreck. People change their minds after somebody else changes the building." Grant set the duct on the floor. "Not everything Mom does is a strategy. I didn't say it was. You get a tone. She taught me." Lorna arrived 2 hours later, carrying a bag from a barbecue restaurant and wearing shoes with narrow heels that sank into the dirt beside the porch. Tom followed with a cooler. Grant looked at Callie. "I didn't know. You just said she wanted pictures. That is not the same as coming over." Lorna paused at the new porch rail and tested it with both hands. "This is nice." "Grant and Malik built it," Callie said. "Grant said he helped. That is what I said. Lorna entered 412 more carefully this time. Drywall now covered most of the living room walls. The old green wallpaper remained on one section Callie intended to preserve. The rebuilt cabinets were installed, their mismatched doors sanded and waiting for paint. Pipes rose through the correct places in the bathroom floor. Tom walked into the kitchen and flicked a switch. The temporary bulbs came on. "Well," he said, "look at that." His pleasure was so uncomplicated that Callie wanted to share it. For a few seconds, she did. Lorna opened a cabinet door. Malik had lowered one shelf and installed a pull-out tray beneath it. This was all here, some of it. "We rebuilt the damaged boxes. You kept the old doors. They're solid." Lorna moved into the bathroom. "This is enormous. It's accessible. For Ray, for anyone who needs it, and she'll live here when it's ready." Lorna looked around again, recalculating. "What will she pay?" Callie told her. "That's below market. It covers the mortgage I don't have, taxes, insurance, and repair reserve. But if you charge what the investor planned, I'm not the investor." "No, but you have to think about your future. This could be something. It already is something. I mean, financially." Tom set the cooler on the kitchen counter. The cabinets came out good. Lorna ignored him. "You could finish this side, rent it properly, then sell later, or keep both units in the family." "What family?" The question escaped before Callie decided to ask it. Lorna blinked. "Ours. Ray and I have an agreement. Ray is your friend." "Yes. You barely knew Edith? And now you're using what she gave you to subsidize someone else." Ray stood in the bedroom doorway, holding the dark blue paint card. Lorna saw her too late. "Subsidize me?" Ray asked. "I didn't mean, I know exactly what you meant." Callie stepped between them. "Ray is paying rent." "Not enough," Lorna said, "according to you." "No, according to you." Lorna folded her arms. "Your father and I may need a place with fewer stairs one day." Tom looked startled. "We bought a condo," I said one day. "You threw me out of the house Grandma left you," Callie said. "Now you want me to reserve the house Edith left me?" "We did not throw you out." The room changed. Even Grant stopped pretending to work. Callie looked at her mother. "My mattress was in the rain. We sold the house. You packed my clothes in garbage bags, contractor bags." Tom closed his eyes. Lorna's face flushed. "You had known for almost 2 weeks, 12 days. You were an adult living in our porch, and now I'm an adult standing in my kitchen. So you can ask before you plan who gets it." Lorna looked at Ray, Grant, Malik in the front doorway, and finally Tom. The room had become too full of witnesses for her to retreat with dignity. She set the barbecue bag on the counter. "I was trying to be proud of you," she said. "Then be proud without taking measurements." Lorna left. Tom hesitated, collected the cooler, then left the food behind, and followed her. Grant stood with both hands in his pockets. "I should go," he said. "Did you invite them?" "No." "Did you tell them we were here?" He looked away. Callie nodded. "Go." "Callie, not today." After Grant's truck pulled away, Ray took the dark blue card and taped it to the bedroom wall. "Too dark?" she asked. Callie stared at it. "Perfect." That evening, Malik found Callie removing screws from a cabinet door she had installed the day before. "What's wrong with it?" "Crooked." "It's not. I can see it." "You can see your mother." Callie twisted the screwdriver harder. The bit slipped and cut the side of her thumb. Malik took the tool away. He washed the cut beneath the workshop faucet, wrapped it with gauze, and held her hand until the bleeding stopped. "I hate that she can still make me feel 12 years old," Callie said. "You weren't 12 in that kitchen. I sounded 12. You sounded like the person with the keys." She looked at him. Malik's thumb rested against the inside of her wrist. His face was close enough that she could see a pale line of sawdust along his jaw. He kissed her carefully, as if waiting for the floor to object. Callie kissed him back, less carefully. A horn sounded from the street. They separated, laughing once from surprise. Ray leaned out of Callie's car. "It won't start," she called. Callie closed her eyes. Malik rested his forehead briefly against hers. "Of course it won't." The repair shop called the next morning with an estimate of $1,400. Callie stood in the dark blue bedroom, looking at the budget taped to the unfinished wall. The rectangle marked contingency was already crossed out. Callie moved the plumber's final payment into next month. The spreadsheet turned red. She postponed flooring. Still red. She removed the bathroom mirror, the bedroom door, and every kitchen handle from the immediate list. The number at the bottom remained $1,400 short. Ray stood behind her with 2 coffees and read over her shoulder. You need the car. I know. You could delay the plumbing. I already delayed the plumber once. He'll survive. Ray, if the bathroom isn't finished, you can't move in. If you can't move in, there's no rent. If there's no rent, I can't resume the plumbing. That sounds like a circular problem. It's more of a toilet-shaped problem. Ray put 1 coffee on the windowsill. Use my security deposit. No, you haven't let me pay it yet, because the unit isn't approved. I have it saved. And it stays saved. It would get your car back. It would spend your housing money before I can provide housing. You're being rigid. Yes. Ray nodded. Good. Good? I wanted to see if you meant all the contract talk when you were scared. That was a test? It was an offer. Your answer happened to be graded. Callie shut the laptop. I dislike your tenant personality. I learned from my landlord. The morning after the kiss, Malik had driven Callie to her first appointment in a pickup truck with a cracked dashboard and a passenger door that opened only from the outside. Neither mentioned what had happened in the workshop until Callie reached for the handle and discovered she was trapped. This feels symbolic, she said. It's a broken latch. You're committed to practical explanations. Most things are already complicated enough. He walked around and opened the door for her. Callie stepped onto the sidewalk, therapy bag over one shoulder. About last night. Malik rested one arm on the open door. You regret it? No. Good. Do you? No. Good. A delivery truck honked behind them. Malik glanced in the mirror. We're excellent at this. The street is rushing us. The street has places to be. He kissed her again, quick and warm, then closed the door after her. The moment stayed with Callie through 2 balance assessments and a shower transfer session. It did not pay the mechanic. Grant arrived at Ralston after 6, carrying a pizza, and the expression of a man prepared to remain even if asked to leave. Callie was fitting insulation between studs in 412. She kept working. I didn't invite Mom and Dad, he said. I know. I told Dad I'd be here Sunday. Mom heard. I know that too. Then why did you tell me to go? Because you've spent years accidentally giving them information about me and acting like the accident absolves you. He set the pizza on the cabinet door. That's fair. Callie pushed the insulation into the wall cavity. I don't like it, he added. Fair things don't require your approval. I know. She looked at him. Grant had never been skilled at apologies. As an adult, he tended to approach them as faulty equipment. Identify the failure, replace one part, become frustrated when the machine still made noise. I'm sorry, he said. I should have told them you didn't want visitors. Yes. And I should have stopped Mom when she started talking about Ray's rent. Yes, I didn't know how. You say, Mom, stop. 2 words, one of them is her name. Grant nodded. Mom, stop. Not to me. I'm practicing. Despite herself, Callie smiled. Grant opened the pizza box. I heard about the car. From Ray? Malik. Why are the men in my life running a newsletter? He asked whether I knew a mechanic. And now you're here to tell me I should have taken the offer. No. Grant sat on an upturned bucket. I'm here to lend you $1,400. No. I wrote terms. He took a folded page from his pocket. Callie stared at it. You wrote a loan agreement? Ray helped. Of course she did. $100 a month, starting 30 days after 412 is occupied. No interest. If the unit isn't occupied within 6 months, payments start then anyway. You put a deadline on it. You like deadlines? I hate deadlines. You respect them while complaining. Callie read the page. Grant had used the Barlow office printer. A faint blue stripe crossed the bottom, and the company's slogan, Comfort is our business, sat beneath the repayment schedule. Where does the money come from? She asked. My checking account. Not the buy-in money. That belongs to Barlow now. I mean money Mom and Dad gave you. Grant looked at the exposed wall. My account contains wages, overtime, the birthday checks Grandma used to send, and probably money Mom gave me at some point. I can't separate every dollar into morally clean piles. That sounds like something you practiced. I had the drive over. Callie folded the agreement again. Why? Because you need the car. No. Why lend it to me now? Grant looked down at his hands. You wouldn't take $600 in the driveway. That did not answer the question. I was trying to make myself feel less guilty. And this is different? I hope so. He nodded toward the kitchen, the bathroom, the walls they had insulated. I'm not paying you to forgive me. I'm investing in something. Callie almost rejected it, simply because he had used their mother's word. Grant saw the reaction. Not like that, he said. I mean, I think you're going to finish, and I want to help without pretending help makes part of it mine. The sentence sounded new in his mouth. Callie unfolded the agreement. The repayment starts 60 days after occupancy? 45, 50, fine. And you don't tell Mom. It's my money. Say it. I won't tell Mom. She signed. Grant transferred the money while she stood beside him. The mechanic promised the car the following afternoon. Then Grant ate 2 slices of pizza and spent 3 hours installing ductwork without once calling what he was doing an investment. The plumbing moved forward. The relocated drain passed its pressure test. The shower base went in without a curb. Malik rebuilt the damaged sink cabinet with a removable front panel so the pipes remained reachable. Callie insisted on lever handles, despite discovering that every lever-shaped object cost more than a knob. Ray painted her bedroom dark blue. The first coat frightened everyone. It looks like a cave, Grant said. Ray held up the roller. Leave. The second coat dried to the color of evening just before streetlights came on. Against the white trim, the room felt calm rather than small. Callie stood in the doorway and admitted, "You were right." Ray turned from the wall. "I'm sorry, I need to record this." "I said the color works." "No, use the original words. Don't make me add a paint clause." Malik finished the kitchen counters from 2 pieces of butcher block left over from separate jobs. The shades did not match exactly. One was honey-colored, the other deeper brown. He joined them at the sink with such a clean seam that Callie ran her fingertips over it twice before she found the line. "You could stain them the same," he said. No, they're allowed to have had different lives." He looked at her for a second. "That sounds like a brochure too? Ray's rubbing off on me." Malik installed the lower section at a height Edith could have used while seated. He refused payment beyond their original trade, though Callie added every hour to a page marked Malik. "What's this?" he asked. "Record keeping. I didn't agree to a labor credit. You agreed to an exchange. You rearranged my workshop. You built an entire kitchen. You also bully me into exercises. That service is premium." He reached around her to place his pencil on the counter. "What do I redeem the extra hours for?" Callie turned within the small space between him and the cabinets. "I'll think of something. You have the face of a slow processor." She kissed him before he could say anything else. The first inspection of 412 produced a list of 11 corrections. None was catastrophic. That almost made the list more insulting. 1 smoke detector needed to move. A section of drywall required additional fasteners. The bathroom grab bar blocking was correct, but Callie had photographed it badly before the wall closed. The threshold at the front door was a 1/4 inch too high on one side. "A 1/4 inch," Ray said. Callie crouched with a level. "A wheel catches where it catches." "I know. I'm mad at the 1/4 inch. They fixed 10 items in 3 days. The photograph became the problem. Callie had taken dozens during construction, but the image of the bathroom wall did not show the full length of the wood blocking behind the future grab bar. Opening the finished wall would mean removing tile, cutting drywall, documenting the framing, then repairing everything. "It's there," Malik said. "I know it's there. You watch me install it." The inspector didn't. Grant studied the photograph on Callie's phone. Could use a scope through a small opening. Would that prove the length? Maybe. Callie hated maybe. Malik brought over a small inspection camera borrowed from the hardware store. They removed the electrical plate on the opposite side of the bathroom wall and threaded the camera through the opening. The screen showed wires, insulation, and a narrow strip of wood. "Turn left," Callie said. "I am turning left," Malik replied. "Your other left. Cameras don't have another left." Ray stood behind them with the written correction notice. "I can see wood." "We need to see 24 inches of wood," Callie said. Grant took the camera. "Give it to me. You work on furnaces. I understand directions." He immediately pointed the lens at his own face from inside the wall. Ray laughed so hard she had to sit on the floor. They tried again. Malik fed the camera. Callie marked distance along the cable. Grant guided the angle. Slowly, the blocking appeared across the screen from one stud to the next. Callie recorded the video and sent it with the correction photographs. Approval arrived the following afternoon. She read the message 3 times in her parked, newly repaired car before calling Ray. "You can move in?" Ray did not answer. "Ray, I'm here." "You're quiet." "I'm not quiet. I'm having an internal parade." Callie laughed. The occupancy approval did not finish the unit. It made the unfinished details suddenly urgent. Ray still needed a bedroom door, kitchen handles, and a mirror. The floors were sealed plywood in 2 rooms. The refrigerator came from a used appliance shop and had a dent shaped like a fist near the freezer handle. But the toilet flushed. The shower ran hot. The outlets worked. The front threshold met the wheels of Edith's walker without catching. On move-in morning, Ray arrived in a rented cargo van with her bed, 6 plants, and more kitchen equipment than Callie believed one person could own. Mr. Petros followed in his sedan, carrying a potted fern. "I am not helping," he announced. Ray took the fern. "You carried this down 3 flights. Plant was blocking inspection." There was no inspection. Exactly. Very dangerous. He shook Callie's hand before leaving. "Good threshold." Callie watched him test it with his foot. "Thank you. 1/4 inch matters." "I've heard." When the last box was inside, Ray handed Callie a cashier's check for the security deposit and the first month's rent. Callie did not reach for it immediately. Ray raised an eyebrow. "Landlord!" Callie accepted the check. There was no applause, no ribbon. Malik was across the alley cutting cabinet stock. Grant had gone to an emergency call. The living room floor still showed patches where the sealant had dried unevenly. Ray locked her own front door, then unlocked it and handed Callie the spare key. "For emergencies," she said. Callie closed her fingers around it. "Not for moving my coffee maker. I make no promises." Ray pointed toward the door. Callie stepped outside. The lock clicked behind her. For the first time since inheriting the duplex, Callie stood on the porch and heard someone inside 412 moving through a home that worked. The spare key felt heavier than the 4 Edith had labeled. Callie carried it across the entry and unlocked 414. Her own side smelled like insulation, plywood, and the coffee she had forgotten on the windowsill that morning. The mattress remained on the floor. Plastic sheeting divided the bedroom from the unfinished hall. Her kitchen consisted of the $20 microwave, a folding table, and a mini refrigerator Malik had found behind the hardware store. Through the shared wall came the muffled thump of Ray setting down a box, followed by a curse and the sound of something rolling across the floor. Callie smiled. Then she deposited Ray's check and watched nearly all of it disappear into taxes, insurance, and the plumber's delayed payment. Home ownership, she thought, was the art of receiving money on behalf of people who already wanted it. Ray's first evening in 412 produced 3 maintenance requests. "The hot handle turns farther than the cold," she said, standing in Callie's doorway with a clipboard. "You made a clipboard? I'm establishing a professional relationship. The handles both work. Unequal turning creates resentment." What else? "The bedroom door isn't installed. It is leaning against the bedroom wall, not where most tenants expect one." "And the third?" Ray lowered the clipboard. "Come over." She led Callie into the dark blue bedroom. A lamp glowed beside the bed. The white trim was not perfect, and the sealed plywood floor still showed old pencil measurements near the closet. Ray's 6 plants crowded the window. "What am I looking at?" Callie asked. "The room. I've seen it, not with my stuff in it." Callie stood quietly. The room had stopped waiting. A cardigan hung from the closet knob. A book lay open on the bed. Ray's work shoes sat beneath the window, toes pointing toward the door. Nothing matched, but everything belonged to a person rather than a plan. Ray handed her the clipboard. Under the first 2 items, she had written 3. Landlord must admit this worked. Callie checked the box beside it. The rent from 412 did not make finishing 414 easy. It made finishing it possible in increments. Callie paid Grant the first $100 of their agreement. He photographed the transfer and sent back "paid as agreed," followed by a picture of his caramel coffee. She bought drywall in batches small enough to fit inside her repaired car. Malik helped her frame the interior walls, but made her drive every 5th screw so she would learn the difference between snug and buried. Ray chose kitchen handles from a clearance bin and demanded no labor credit because, in her words, meddling was a personal expense. Callie stopped taking every evening visit. Marcia returned 1 overtime shift after Callie arrived early for 3 straight weeks. Mr. Delaney graduated from formal therapy by putting on both socks, walking to his kitchen, and making Callie another uneven turkey sandwich. "You done with me?" he asked. "For now?" "You look less haunted." "My ceiling doesn't leak." "Low standard. Effective standard." He handed her the larger half of the sandwich. "Don't let a building become a more expensive way to disappear." Callie carried that sentence back to Ralston. She began leaving the drill where it was at 8 o'clock. Some nights she ate with Ray. Some nights she sat in Malik's workshop while he finished orders, her feet resting on a crate of drawer slides now stored at a reasonable height. His shoulder improved enough that he stopped performing the exercises only when he expected her to see. He still complained through the last set. "This one is unnecessary," he said, pulling the resistance band outward. "It's the most necessary one. You say that about all three. You negotiate like a man who wants a fourth exercise." He completed the set. Their relationship found space around the work instead of replacing it. Malik did not move into 414 or begin calling the duplex theirs. He knocked. He asked before changing things. When Callie disagreed with him about where to place the kitchen sink, he made his argument, lost, and installed it where she wanted without behaving like defeat was a favor. Grant kept coming on Sundays. He said less about Barlow than he once had. When he did talk, the pride and frustration arrived together. Russ had used much of the new investment to replace an aging service van, a sensible decision Grant hated because it delayed the distribution their parents expected. "Mom keeps asking when the money starts paying back," he said, while fitting a vent cover in 414. "What do you tell her? That businesses aren't vending machines. How does she enjoy that?" "She says she knows that." Callie handed him a screwdriver. "She does know it. She just doesn't think rules apply when she's worried." Grant tightened the vent. "She thinks I misled them? Did you?" "No, I said there was risk." "Did you say it before or after she called you an investment?" He looked at her. "Probably after." The answer was honest enough to hurt them both. Grant sat back on his heels. "I should have given you part of the house money." Callie stared at the new vent. "Not as a loan," he said. "Before, when they offered it to me." "You wanted it?" "Yes." "You thought you deserved it?" "Yes." "And you thought if I needed anything, that was between me and them?" Grant rubbed his thumb over the screwdriver handle. "Yes." Callie waited for him to make the confession smaller. He did not. "I can't give it back," he said. "It's in the company, I know. But I can stop pretending I was just standing nearby when it happened." Callie nodded once. It was not forgiveness. It was more useful than the $600 had been. The bedroom walls in 414 went up. The bathroom remained unfinished, but the toilet worked, and the shower no longer required a trip to Ray's. Malik installed a temporary kitchen counter, promising to replace it when money allowed. Callie told him temporary had become one of her favorite design styles. On the first cold evening of the season, Grant started the heating system. Warm air came through the vents carrying the smell of dust and new metal. Callie stood barefoot in the front room, feeling it move across the floor. "I thought heat would feel more dramatic," she said. Grant adjusted the thermostat. "People only notice heating when it doesn't work. That is unfair. It's comfort. Nobody applauds comfort." Ray appeared through the shared entry wearing a sweater. "I will applaud." She did, slowly and sarcastically. Lorna came 2 days later. She did not call first. She knocked, which was almost worse because it showed that she had heard Callie. Callie opened the door and found her mother holding the round wicker sewing basket against her coat. For a moment, neither spoke. "I found it," Lorna said. The basket's lid still carried the dark crescent where Callie's grandmother had once rested a hot iron by mistake. A blue ribbon was tied around the handle. Callie looked at the ribbon. "You wrapped it." "I wanted it to be nice." "It was already mine." Lorna's mouth tightened. "May I come in?" Callie stepped aside. Her mother entered 414 and stopped. The walls were painted a warm cream. The mattress now sat on a simple platform Malik had built from scrap maple. Callie's uniforms hung inside an actual closet. The walnut nightstand from the bungalow stood beside the bed, its legs reattached, one drawer still stuck in damp weather. Lorna touched the back of a dining chair. "You've done a lot." "We've done a lot." "Of course." Callie placed the sewing basket on the kitchen counter and untied the ribbon. Inside were wooden spools, embroidery, scissors, chalk, and her grandmother's tomato-shaped pincushion. Callie lifted the tray. Her own thimble sat beneath it beside a folded occupational therapy school patch she had thought she lost years ago. "You knew it was mine," she said. Lorna removed her gloves one finger at a time. "I knew you used it." "No, you knew." I was upset. Everything in that house was being divided, sold, thrown away. That basket was one of the few things that still smelled like my mother. Callie had not expected the admission. She touched the worn wicker rim. It smelled faintly of cedar and the hand cream her grandmother used. "You could have said that," Callie said. "You could have let me keep it. You didn't ask." Lorna looked toward 412. Music played softly through the wall. "Is Ray home?" "She's working. I'd like to see the finished unit. It's her home. You can see it when she invites you." Lorna's face changed in the small way Callie knew too well. "I brought your basket." "Yes." "And I knocked." "Yes, I'm trying." Callie closed the lid. "I know." "Then why does every conversation feel like a punishment?" "Because you want trying to erase what happened. I want us to move forward. Forward to what? A family that isn't keeping score. The people ahead always want to stop counting." Lorna looked away. Through the front window, Malik crossed the alley carrying a long cabinet box. He saw Lorna's car and changed direction toward the workshop. "You've built a whole life here," Lorna said. "I'm building one, and there's no room in it for us." "That's not what I said. You gave the finished home to Ray. I rented it to Ray, below market, at a rent that pays the bills and lets her live. And when your father and I need something accessible, you own an elevator condo. For now." Callie stared at her. "Is something happening?" "No. But we have to think ahead. Grant's business is taking longer than expected. The condo fees went up. Your father's knees aren't improving. Dad still plays golf twice a week. That doesn't mean stairs are easy. You don't have stairs." Lorna took a breath. "We could help you finish this side properly. Then, if circumstances changed, there would be an understanding." "What understanding?" "That family has a place." The words settled across the new kitchen. Callie looked at the sewing basket, the returned object dressed like a peace offering. She understood why it had come now. "You want part of the duplex. I want security." "So did I." "That is not fair." "No, it wasn't." Lorna's voice rose. "We did not leave you homeless. You had friends. You had work. You had options. You didn't know I had this building. But you did, afterward. You landed on your feet. Because Edith left me a roof with a hole in it. And you turned it into this. I am proud of you. You keep saying that right before asking for something." Lorna pressed her gloves flat against the counter. "What do you want from me, Callie? Do you want me to say I was a terrible mother? No. Do you want me to apologize forever? I want you to understand that being my mother does not make my home yours. I never said it did. You called it a family opportunity, because families help each other. You helped Grant. You removed my lock." Lorna flinched. Callie's voice dropped. "You don't get to come back because now the porch looks safe." For several seconds, the only sound was the furnace turning on. Lorna picked up her gloves. "If I leave now," she said, "I don't know how we come back from this." Callie's hands shook beneath the counter, but her voice did not. "I'm not telling you to leave forever. I'm telling you that when I say no, you have to leave without taking something." Lorna looked at the sewing basket. Then she walked to the door. This time, she left it behind. The door closed, and Callie stood with both hands braced against the counter. Her knees had begun to tremble. She had imagined refusing her mother dozens of times. In every version, Callie spoke cleanly. Lorna understood too late. Injustice produced immediate calm. The real thing left Callie nauseated in a warm kitchen. A knock sounded, not the front door, the window. Malik stood outside with the cabinet box still balanced against one shoulder. He lifted his free hand, asking rather than entering. Callie unlocked the door. He carried the box inside and set it against the wall. "You want company?" "I don't know. I can work with that." She brought the basket. "I saw. It was mine the whole time. I know. She wants a claim on the duplex." Malik leaned back against the temporary counter. "What did you say?" "No. How'd that go?" "She left." "That means it worked." Callie laughed once, then covered her face. Malik did not tell her she had been brave. He did not say Lorna would come around. He filled the kettle, made tea, and sat on the floor beside her until her hands stopped shaking. The duplex continued requiring ordinary things the next morning. A cold water fitting beneath Ray's sink dripped. The furnace filter rattled because Grant had installed the wrong size. One of Callie's new bedroom outlets stopped working and turned out to be connected to a switch she had forgotten existed. Problems remained, problems. They did not become symbols unless she had time to make them one. Lorna did not call. Tom sent a text 3 days later. "Your mother is upset. I am not asking you to fix that. Just letting you know we are okay." Callie read it twice. She replied, "Thank you." He sent back a thumbs up that appeared wildly cheerful under the circumstances. Grant came Sunday carrying the correct furnace filter. He installed it, then wandered into the kitchen and noticed the sewing basket on the counter. She brought it. "Yes." "How did that go?" "Everybody keeps asking me that." "Did anybody have fun?" "No." Then it went like a Mercer conversation. He lifted the lid and touched the tomato pincushion with one finger. "Grandma used to stab needles into this while looking directly at whoever annoyed her." "I know. She did it to Mom a lot. I know that too." Grant closed the lid. "There's something else from the house." Callie looked at him. "The sewing table, the drop-leaf one from the back bedroom." "I thought they sold it. So did I. It's in the storage unit under 2 boxes of Christmas lights and Dad's old bowling trophies. Why didn't Mom bring it?" "I don't think she remembered it was there." Callie glanced at the basket. "Don't," Grant said. "Don't what?" "Turn every bad thing she does into a plan. Sometimes she's just bad at storage. Did she say I could have it? I didn't ask. Then don't take it." Grant's face tightened. It was Grandma's. So was the basket. "I'm trying to bring you something without conducting a trial, and I'm trying not to become Mom from the other direction." He looked toward the front room, where the newly painted walls made the unfinished baseboards more obvious. "Fine," he said. "I'll ask. Thank you. You make theft exhausting. That is one of my community services." Lorna answered Grant, not Callie. She said Callie could have the table. She also said the table was scratched, unstable, and hardly worth the trouble of moving. Grant brought it to Malik's workshop anyway. The walnut veneer had peeled at one corner. One leaf sagged. The shallow drawer was jammed shut by something inside it. Grant spent 3 Sundays repairing it with Malik, refusing to let Callie see the progress. "You're rebuilding my grandmother's table in my boyfriend's workshop, across from my house." Grant looked up from a clamp. That sounded weirdly territorial. It sounded accurate. Malik sanded the repaired edge. "Boyfriend?" Callie folded her arms. "Is that the word causing trouble?" "No." "Good." Grant looked between them. "I'm going to need both of you to become less interesting while I'm here." Ray's rent rose nowhere. Her hot and cold handles turned equal distances after Malik replaced a washer. She hung the shelf beside the stove, at a height Callie disliked, and used it every day without injury. The relationship between tenant and landlord survived its first late payment when Ray accidentally sent the rent to her electric company. "I wondered why they thanked me so warmly," she said. Callie charged no late fee because their lease provided a 3-day grace period, a provision Ray had insisted on adding. "See," Ray said, "paper protects us from your personality. My personality was going to give you 5 days. Your personality also rearranged my spice drawer. Cumin beside cinnamon is reckless. Give me the emergency key." Callie surrendered it for 24 hours. By the time the first hard frost silvered the porch rail, 414 had a finished bathroom, interior doors, and a kitchen counter Malik no longer called temporary. He had joined 2 more pieces of leftover butcher block, darker than the counters in 412. Callie kept those mismatched too. She paid Grant the second installment on the car loan. She paid the taxes on schedule. The repair reserve contained $412, which was not much until she remembered the Duplex had once contained nothing but obligations. Callie invited everyone to dinner after installing the last kitchen handle. The handle was slightly crooked. She left it. Ray cooked in 412 because she owned enough pans to serve a restaurant. Malik made cornbread in the workshop oven and carried it across the alley in a cast-iron skillet. Grant arrived with the restored sewing table wrapped in a moving blanket. They placed it against the dining room wall in 414. The repaired leaves opened smoothly. The jammed drawer now worked. Inside, Grant had found a paper packet of needles, 2 wooden buttons, and a handwritten grocery list so old that coffee cost $3. Callie ran her hand over the refinished top. "You did this?" Malik helped. Grant complained, Malik said. Complaining is part of restoration. Callie hugged her brother. Grant held still in surprise, then wrapped both arms around her. "I'm sorry," he whispered into her hair. She knew he meant more than the table. She also knew sorry did not settle every account. She held on anyway. The front door opened after a knock, and Tom stepped inside, carrying a narrow object wrapped in a dish towel. He had come alone. Callie looked past him at the empty porch. "Your mother isn't ready," he said. "Okay. She might think she is." "That's different?" "Okay." Tom removed his coat. She made potato salad. He held up a plastic container as evidence. Ray took it. "That counts as partial attendance." She said it does not. "She is wrong." Tom smiled, but his eyes remained uncertain. Dinner occupied both units. Ray's oven held the roast. Callie's counter held the side dishes. People crossed through the shared entry carrying bowls, spoons, napkins, and contradictory instructions. No one sat in the correct chair. Malik forgot the butter. Grant spilled gravy near the sewing table and reacted as if he had struck a pedestrian. Tom stood near the threshold between 412 and 414, looking back and forth. "You can feel the difference," he said. "What difference?" Callie asked. "The counters, the doors. Everything over there is easier to reach." "That's the point," he nodded. "Your grandmother could have used that kitchen. She would have complained about the open shelf. She complained about closed shelves, too." They both smiled. After dinner, Ray brought coffee. Grant received caramel without protest. Tom declined both kinds and asked Callie if they could talk. They went into the utility room of 414, the only place not occupied by plates or people. The furnace hummed beside them. Shelves held filters, paint cans, a toolbox, and neatly labeled envelopes for taxes and repairs. Tom unwrapped the object he had carried inside. The old brass latch from Callie's porch door was mounted on a piece of painted wood. One edge of the wood still carried the faded yellow trim from the bungalow. Callie stared at it. "You kept it." Tom turned the piece in his hands. "I removed a section of trim when the realtor wanted the door to match. Told myself it might be useful." "You filled the holes." "I did." The buyers probably wondered why the putty was wet. They did. Callie touched the small thumb turn. The brass had been polished, but scratches remained around the keyhole. "Why did you bring this?" Tom looked at the furnace instead of her. "I said you'd land on your feet," he began. "That was Mom. She said it. I agreed with it." He rubbed one thumb over the edge of the wood. "It sounded like confidence in you. That's how I used it in my head." Callie waited. "But what it meant was, we could do the harder thing to you, because you were the one most likely to survive it." Her throat tightened. Tom looked at her then. "I chose the person who made disappointment easy. Your mother chose too, but I'm not speaking for her." "No," Callie said. "You can't. I know." Outside the utility room, Ray laughed at something Malik said. A cabinet door closed in 412. The sounds crossed the shared wall without becoming clear words. "I should have left the lock until you carried the last bag out," Tom said. "I should have kept your mattress inside. I should have told your mother the sewing basket was yours. You told me to ask her." "I know. You always told me to ask her. I know that too." His eyes lowered. "I'm sorry, Callie." It was not a dramatic apology. Tom did not cry. He did not ask her to forgive him. He stood beside the furnace looking older than he had in the bungalow driveway and held out the piece of her former door. Callie took it. "Thank you," she said. Tom breathed out. "Where's Mom?" she asked. "At the condo. Did she know you were bringing that?" "Yes." "And the wood? She told me the yellow paint was ugly." Callie smiled faintly. "It is." She also said not to lose the original screws. That sounded enough like Lorna to hurt. Tom returned to dinner. Callie remained in the utility room, holding the old lock. Her phone vibrated in her pocket. Lorna had left a voicemail. Callie listened after everyone went home. Her mother's voice was controlled at first. She said she hoped the potato salad had been kept cold. She said Grant had shown her a photograph of the sewing table, and that the repair looked better than she expected. Then she was quiet long enough that Callie checked whether the message had ended. "I don't understand why there has to be so much distance," Lorna said. "But I heard what you said about asking. I will call before I come. And I won't ask about the other unit again." Another pause. "I am sorry about the mattress. Contractor bags were still the right choice." Callie laughed, then pressed her lips together. Lorna continued more softly. "Tell Ray the dark blue looks nice. Your father showed me. The message ended without "I love you." Lorna had always said those words easily. Perhaps leaving them out was the first time she understood they could not do all the work. Callie did not call back that night. She sent, "Potato salad stayed cold." "Thank you." Then she placed her phone on the sewing table. Malik had stayed to help wash dishes. He found Callie in the utility room, studying the old latch. "You want to hang it?" he asked. "I think so." "Front room? No. Bedroom?" Callie looked at the shelves, the labeled envelopes, the furnace filter Grant had finally fitted correctly. "Here." Malik brought a drill but handed it to her. Callie mounted the piece of bungalow wood on the utility room wall. The original screws bit firmly into the stud. When she finished, Malik tested the brass thumb turn. It clicked once. "Doesn't lock anything," he said. "I know." He looked at her. Callie switched off the utility room light and closed the door on the old latch, the yellow wood, and everything it had once been allowed to control. In the kitchen, her own keys waited on the counter. One for 4, 1 4. One for the shared entry. One spare for Ray's home, used only when invited. Malik knocked on the open doorway. Callie smiled and let him in.